Mic check for the YouTube stream. Mic check for the YouTube stream.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Ann McCauley. I am the chair of the Scarborough Panel Committee of Adjustment. I'm joined by my fellow panel members, Mr. Reed, Mr. Stinson, Mr. Hahn, and Mr. Said. In accordance with Section 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment is called to order. The Committee considers the Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaw that apply to property, permission to extend or alter lawful nonconforming uses, and consent to sever property to create new lots. We have our land acknowledgement as the start. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Crescent, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Crescent and the Williams Treaty signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. Committee of Adjustment public meetings are now conducted in a hybrid in-person and virtual format. Some applicants and participants will make their submissions in person, and others will participate virtually by electronic means through WebEx, an online digital platform. The meetings are also streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel, and anyone wishing to view Hello. Can you now hear me? Okay. Okay. I'll repeat part of this. Those who want to participate virtually and have registered in advance will be connecting with their computer, tablet, smartphone, or telephone, and have the option of participating via video or audio only. All virtual participants will automatically be muted on entry. When your item is called, you will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. We ask that you also mute your devices until you're called on to speak. Those participating by video appearance will be temporarily upgraded to panelists when their item is being held. During this time, your cameras will be enabled. You will only be visible during a 5-minute allocated speaking time. At all other times, your video will be disabled and you will be reinstated as an attendee. Excuse me. For both in-person and virtual participants, Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in advance with the written submission deadline. Those participating through WebEx are not allowed to use share screen or any other panelist controls during their video performance. The host will remove you from the panelist role if you fail to respect this instruction. Receiving a copy of a decision of the committee. People attending in person today who want to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must fill out a decision request card, and those participating virtually need to submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and email address because the Committee of Adjustment and the Toronto Local Appeal Board will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, you may be able to appeal the decision to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal. However, the provincial government amended the Planning Act and generally removed rights of third parties to appeal Committee of Adjustment decisions. Only the applicant, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, specified persons of public bodies are permitted to appeal decisions of the Committee of Adjustment. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision. In our hearing procedure, I will call each item in the order listed in the agenda, making your submissions. When an application is uncontested, the applicant or agent may proceed with their presentation if desired. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair that should they wish to speak to the committee. The committee may ask questions and/or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will comment when you're reaching the 5 minutes. Any presentation or other materials you wish to submit to the committee must have been emailed in advance of the hearing. Staff and committee members cannot accept materials at the hearing. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address. Please confirm your comments to remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent will proceed first and will make a presentation to the committee on the application. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if substantially revised to ensure the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice of the application are informed of the changes. Then individuals either in support or opposition to the application will be invited to speak. Generally, we'll call on speakers in the room first, and then those participating through WebEx. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they finish their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant agent has the opportunity to rebut only those issues that were raised by the speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion. The applicant will then be taken into committee for a decision. Before hearing the first item, I want a confirmation of the minutes of our last meeting. Do I have Mr. Sayed?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I put forward motion for approval of our minutes of meeting dated February 14.
Thank you.
I will second the motion.
Thank you. I have a motion from Mr. Sayed. It was seconded by Mr. Hahn. All those in favor? That motion is carried. The minutes of last meeting have been confirmed. Are there any declarations of interest of panel or staff for any items in this time period? Seeing none from panel, anyone from staff?
Through the chair, there are none.
Thank you. Deferral requests. Mr. Deputy Secretary Treasurer, have you received any requests for deferral? Would you present each item in the order that we have received? For those in the audience, I understand we have received 4 requests for deferrals. We will discuss the deferrals first.
Through the chair, you may wish to, there is a motion to for member absences.
Okay. Before we move into deferrals, we have a motion for to excuse member absentees. Okay. Mr. Okay.
Madam Chair, I can move the motion for the absence if you allow me.
Thank you, Mr. Said.
Thank you so much. Because, Madam Chair, one of our regular member is not attending today, so I put forward motion that the Scarborough panel of the Committee of Adjustment excuses Nancy Ferguson from today's March 6, 2024 Committee of Adjustment hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
Chair, I'll second that.
Thank you. Moved by Mr. Said, second by Mr. Stinson, that we have accepted the motion for member absentees. All those in favor? Thank you. Okay. We will go back to deferral requests. Mr. Secretary Treasurer, do we have any requests for deferral?
Through the chair, there are 4 deferral requests for today's hearing. The first one is for item number 2, 143 Chesterley Boulevard. Deferral sine die at the request of the applicant to address concerns identified by community planning.
Okay. Is the applicant in the room?
Good morning.
Okay. You are the applicant?
I am, Madam Chair.
Okay, and you have requested a deferral.
Yeah, there was an error in the zoning notice that will affect it won't necessarily affect the variance, it'll just affect the wording of the variances that will be before you.
Okay. Do I have a motion for deferral? Mr. Reed?
Thank you, Chair. I move that this item be deferred to allow for proper wording in the notice.
Okay. Mr. Stinson?
I'll second that.
Okay. Moved by Mr. Reed, seconded by Mr. Stinson. All in favor? Thank you, sir. Your item has been deferred. Next item for deferral?
Through the chair, the second item for deferral is item number 4, 42 Cedar View Drive. Deferral sine die at the request of the applicant to address issues identified by community planning and also to allow for proper notice.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to this deferral? Is the applicant available?
I'm not registered only. Why? Hello,
Hello.
Madam Chair.
Can I have your name, please?
Yes, it's Faisal Ahmed.
Can you say that again?
Yes, Madam Chair, it's Faisal Ahmed from CM Designers and Engineers.
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't catch it, the full name.
No problem, thank you.
Okay. You have requested a deferral of this application for 42 Cedar View Drive.
Yes, that's right, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to this deferral? Seeing none? And we don't have anyone online? Okay. What is the wishes of the committee?
Chair, in light of community planning's concerns, I think that we should defer this matter.
Okay, I have a motion for deferral. Do I have a seconder?
Second the motion.
Okay. Moved by
Thank you, Madam.
Mr. Stinson, seconded by Mr. Hahn, that this item be deferred. All those in favor? That motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Committee.
Okay. Next item, Mr. Chair.
The third item for deferral is item number 9, 34 Fallingbrook Drive. Deferral sine die at the request of the applicant to address concerns of the neighbors and the councillor.
Thank you. Is the applicant,
Good morning, Madam Chair. Jonathan Bitskowski.
okay. And you are requesting a deferral?
Correct, Madam Chair. We've made substantial revisions to the plan over the last week. I just don't think there was enough time to go over them with the neighbors. I did speak with planning over that time, as well as transportation, which had both submitted staff reports of non-objection to the application. But I think at this time, it's just a good idea maybe to try to sit down with some additional neighbors. I have spoken to the immediate neighbor already, maybe to expand that to additional neighbors in addition to involving the councillor in some discussions.
Thank you. Sometimes it's wise to get a deferral, give you enough time to speak with everyone who has an issue. So this is item number 9, 34 Fallingbrook Drive. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to the deferral only? Seeing none, I have some names listed. Can we proceed with, I have a first, the name is Marin Zambudi. Is he online? No?
Through the chair, Marin is not online.
Okay. What about Gian and David Channing? Are they online?
Through the chair, they were registered as in person and are not here.
Okay. Mrs. Channing? Okay. Nora Gaspar?
I'm here. Good morning.
Good morning. As you've heard, this is a deferral to allow the applicant to consult further with the community and with planning staff. We're only asking whether you're in agreement with the deferral or not.
Is the purpose of the deferral to perhaps make further modifications to the plan or just to communicate what the revised plan is?
Actually, the applicant had said the purpose of the deferral, as committee, all we are saying is if the applicant has requested a deferral, we grant a deferral. So I'm asking you, are you in agreement with the deferral? You can speak to the applicant afterwards as to why he's asked for it.
Okay, we agree with the deferral.
Thank you. Nora Gasper? Thank you, Nora. Christine Codford? Is she online? Christine, are you in agreement with the deferral?
Yes, I am in agreement with the deferral.
Thank you. Harry Borenstein? Harry, are you, Mr. Borenstein, are you in agreement with the deferral?
Yes, I am, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And the last one I have listed is a Mr. Gables. Is Mr. Gables online? Mr. Gables, are you in agreement with the deferral?
Through the chair, John, please stop hitting the mute button.
I'm sorry, didn't hear that.
I am Mr. Gambles, John Gambles, and I support the deferral.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gambles. Okay. We now have support for the deferral and the request from the applicant. All those in favor of the a motion? Okay, Mr. Stinson?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to put forth a motion to defer this matter in light of all the circumstances that we've heard. Thank you.
Thank you. A seconder, Mr. Said? Okay,
Thank you, Madam Chair. And before I second the motion, Madam Chair, I really want to thanks to the applicant as well as to the speakers who took their time, and all of them agreed with the deferral. To the applicant, thank you for making an attempt to reach out to the neighbors to mitigate their issues, and hopefully this time we'll give you an opportunity to address the concern as identified by the neighbors as well as by the councillor. So, Madam Chair, I second the motion for deferral sine die.
Okay, thank you. Moved by Mr. Stinson, seconded by Mr. Said. All those in agreement to the deferral? Okay, thank you, sir. Okay. Do we have any more requests for deferral?
Through the chair, the last deferral request for today's hearing is item number 16, 51 Morningside Avenue. Deferral at the request of staff due to improper notice. This application should be deferred to the April 3rd hearing.
Thank you, staff. I understand that not everyone that should have been informed of this item received a notice, and that's why we have to defer it. You're the applicant, sir?
Jonathan Miskowski, yes, correct, Madam Chair.
Okay, and you're in agreement with the deferral, are you?
We're having a deferral, let's put it that way, Madam Chair.
I think we all
Yes,
regret having
we're having a deferral.
And I'll apologize
Yes.
because it is the city's issue that not everyone that should have received a notice was notified.
Correct.
So it will be scheduled for the next meeting, which is April, I believe April 3rd. Okay, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to the deferral only? Yes.
Madam Chair, I'm a resident of the area, a neighbor.
Okay, can you come down to the mic, please?
I'd like to know the purpose of the deferral, if it's just to give notices or?
Yes, while you're coming down, I can tell you why we've had to have a deferral. The notice has certain regulations as to who the notice is to be sent to, and through an error, not everyone that should have received the notice was notified. And that's a staff issue. When the mailing went out, it didn't cover everyone in the area that should have received notice. Therefore, we cannot proceed with this application. It just would not be legal.
I'm in agreement with the deferral.
Thank you very much. Can I have your name, please?
My name is Stacy LaFontaine. I live on Fintona.
Okay.
Just one point. The last meeting, the applicant had also requested a deferral, which was granted to him, and the purpose had been to confer with the community, which was not done. So can
Okay.
we take
We're-
this?
We can't actually get into any of the details. I was chair at the last meeting,
Yep.
so I understand why he asked for a deferral.
Yep.
And I have read the literature, the people that got notice and submitted their applications. There is another meeting set now for April the 3rd to hear this application. It's unfortunate that we can't hear it today.
No, I agree. I'm
Yeah.
just hoping that maybe the applicant will take this time to, in fact, confer with the community this time around.
He now has the time to do so.
Hopefully, he will take it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care.
Through the chair, there are some additional people in person here who wish to speak to the deferral request for
Oh,
this
okay.
for this item.
Sorry, I didn't see them.
They just arrived.
Okay. Okay. We are dealing with item number 1651 Morningside Avenue. The applicant has agreed to a deferral. The staff have suggested that a deferral is necessary because not everyone that should have received notice was notified. So from a legal point of view, we need to defer this application, and we will be deferring it to April the 3rd. You are welcome to speak to the deferral and say whether you agree with the deferral or disagree with the deferral. So, sir, if you would come to the mic. We need your name, and all we're talking about is whether you agree with the deferral or don't.
What is the deferral about?
The reason for the deferral is that in the statutes, there's a certain number of people living in the area that needed to be notified by mail. That entire list of people that should have been notified was not complete. And so because the notice did not go to everyone, legally, we cannot proceed with this application.
Okay.
Unfortunate. I apologize on behalf of the staff.
Okay.
Okay. We have set April 3rd as the next item, or as the next hearing to deal with this item. Again, I apologize.
Okay.
I'm sorry, did we get your name? Yes. Sir? Did we get his name? Okay. Sir, can you give us your name and address first, please?
Frank Leatherdale, 8 Gray Abbey Trail, next to the building lot.
Okay, thank you very much. Next person.
And there's a letter sent to you.
Thank you. Yes, we received a lot of mail on this item. It's unfortunate that we can't proceed today. First of all, may I have your name and address?
My name's Janet Alexander. I'm at 53 Morningside, beside 51 Morningside. I'm sorry I'm late, so...
Okay, let me, because you're late, let me just explain. We are discussing whether this item will be deferred to the April 3rd meeting. We're not going to discuss the application at all. Unfortunately, the city staff did not send out a sufficient number of notices to everyone who should have been informed.
Thank you.
And so from a legal point of view, we can't proceed.
I support deferring it, and I hope that everybody studies this in great detail. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else that wishes to speak to the deferral? Okay, come. Yeah.
Morning, Madam Chairman. I'd like to introduce myself as
Good
John
morning. Can
McDonald.
I have your name and address first?
Yes, 59 Morningside,
Thank you.
and it's John McDonald.
Okay. And you have heard that we are
I
unfortunately
agree
having
to the
a deferral.
Yeah, I would agree to the referral. But
You
to be
agree
honest,
with the deferral?
yeah, I agree with it. That's fine.
Okay.
As long
That's all we can discuss at this time.
okay, what
sorry.
if I don't disagree with it then?
Okay.
Okay, what? Anyways, I've been a member of the Toronto Real Estate Board for 40 years.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
All we
You
can
never-
discuss at the moment is whether you agree or disagree with the deferral. We can't discuss the application.
All right, I disagree with it then.
Okay, thank you very much for your opinion.
Okay, have a good day.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? No.
I would just like to make a quick comment before you guys make a motion.
Okay, go
Oh, I
ahead.
was wondering if there's anybody else online.
There's,
No.
oh, sorry, just, let me just check.
Through the chair, there are no speakers that are registered virtually. Through the chair, I can
Okay.
confirm that.
There's just like one quick comment, Madam Chair. I sent out an email about 2 weeks to about 10 different individuals that had written some opposition notes as per a petition. I did not hear back from one individual. Prior to that, I was involved in a T-Lab on Grey Abbey, and I spoke to one of the objectors there almost 8 to 10 months ago about this application. I spoke to him again before the first one, as well as I spoke to another individual who is kind of an architect. Just bear with me for 1 sec, Madam Chair, because I'd just like to address the comment there that was made about the lack of communication. I have not heard back from one individual at all from who I've sent
Okay,
communication to.
you now have the
So-
opportunity, as do the people in the audience, have the opportunity to communicate with each other before the April 3rd meeting. And again, I apologize that we have to defer it. Okay, thank you, sir. Yes? No, there's, I,
It wasn't sent out till a few days before all this started.
okay, all right. All we're talking about is the deferral. Thank you, sir. We'll now take a motion.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion. In light of the information we've received, and we've heard all your comments, thank you, I recommend that we do defer this matter until a further date. Thank you.
I have a motion to defer this from Mr. Stinson, seconded by Mr. Hahn.
Seconded by me.
Yeah. All those in favor? Okay.
Thank you.
That matter is carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay. We will now proceed with the agenda. Today, for those who,
Through the chair. Oh, never mind. Go ahead. Go ahead.
thank you. Okay. Today, the Scarborough Committee of Adjustment is going to proceed with our normal practice of the last couple of years, which is vetting of the agenda. That means that we will look at each item in turn and ask whether their item needs to be held for discussion or whether we can proceed with a decision immediately. So, to ensure a fair and timely hearing, I will review the agenda to determine which applicants can be dealt with immediately and which applicants have individuals other than the applicant that wish to speak to the committee. I will call each item in the order listed on the agenda and will ask for individuals to identify themselves. If there are people who wish to speak, the matter will be held until all non-contested applications have been dealt with. If there are no people in interest, the item will be called in order of the agenda for non-contested applications. Okay. We will start with the first item on the agenda, which is 593 Danforth Road. just get my list of those who have wished to speak. Item 1, I do not see anyone who has registered to speak through the WebEx other than the applicant. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak in connection with 593 Danforth Road? Okay, seeing none. We have no speakers on this item. Does the committee wish a presentation? Yes? Okay.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Is this a presentation or is this a quick question?
Presentation is better.
Okay, all right. We will hold that matter down then because one of the committee members would like to have a presentation. The next item is item 3, 33 Budia Crescent. Again, for item 3, I do not have any listed speakers. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to 33 Budia Crescent? Not seeing any. There is? Yes, ma'am. Okay. If you just take a seat for a minute.
Pardon me, ma'am?
Would you just take a seat for a minute?
Okay.
The applicant gets an opportunity to speak first. Okay. And sorry, but I've lost track of what we're doing here. We are vetting. And so since we have somebody in the audience who wishes to speak to this item, it will be held down. Sir, you may go back to your seat. I've just made a note that we have someone who wishes to speak to this item. And we will proceed on with item number 5. Item number 5 is 30 Lakeside Avenue. I have a number of speakers listed. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on 30 Lakeside Avenue? Okay, good. We will continue the vetting, and then we will come back to the items in turn. Item number 6 is 1515 Birchmount Road. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to 1515 Birchmount Road? No. I have item 6. I have no one listed to speak to 1515 Birchmount Road. Committee members, is the applicant is online?
I'm here.
Okay. Do you wish to make a presentation or
Hello?
Madam, do you wish to make a presentation or do you wish to simply answer any questions of the panel members?
Hello, because I cannot share my screen, right? I prefer some committee member could present the full COA application document in terms of the field drawings, and I can make some presentation, to support. I can, present orally, to support.
Okay. As I said, we're just simply vetting this to see what items we can deal with immediately. If you wish to make a presentation, we will have to hold that item down and come back to it when we're finished all the other items. So number 6, 15.
Through the chair, you may wish to ask the applicant whether she would like the item held for a presentation or whether she would like the committee to deal with it right now.
She asked for that she would like to do a presentation. All right, I will ask again. Madam, do you wish to make a presentation or do you?
Yeah, because I'm participating remotely at home, right? But I find my internet is not very well, so I call in. So I don't know so which is more, supportive, because I just where I cannot share screen, right? Yesterday, by mail, right? And so I cannot share my, documentation. So if somebody, I think if somebody in your committee can share my presentation for those drawings, that would be helpful.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. I too have difficulty dealing with computers. I guess it's the way we're all going to have to go. The question is really, do you do you wish to make a presentation? You don't have to. You may wish to see if there's any questions from the members, and then you can answer those questions. Let me ask whether we have any questions from any of the members. Mr. Said.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have the questions. I have the comments on that, Madam Chair. I personally believe that the variances before the committee, they are straightforward, they are minor, so I am supportive of that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is any other comments? No? Okay. Madam, we have one comment. It is in support of your application. I would like to proceed to a vote unless you have anything you wish to say. Okay, let's proceed to a vote. Moved by Mr. Saad, seconded by Mr. Khan.
I second the motion.
And Madam Chair, this...
Through the chair, we need to confirm what the motion is, and you need to take it to committee before a vote can be made. You need to formally announce that the panel is in committee before motions are submitted.
Okay. This vetting is getting to be what we're supposed to be doing here. All right.
Through the chair, you need to announce for any vote, whether it's in vetting or during the regular review of the agenda, whether you wish to take, taking the matter into committee. And then the panel submits the motions, and then a vote is taken.
Okay, so back up, I guess. Panel, can we take this matter into committee? I see 5 nods. Are we ready for a motion? Mr. Sayed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As mentioned, there are 3 variances before the committee, Madam Chair. To my opinion, these variances pertaining to GFA, lot coverage, and porch canopy, I believe these are straightforward. The variances are minor in nature, so if the other committee members don't have any comments or anything to add, Madam Chair, I am willing to move the motion.
Through the chair, we need a confirmation. Is it approval?
This is a comment, and if the other members don't have any comments on that, okay, that's fine. Thank you, Madam Chair. I put forward motion for approval of item 6, and this approval is without any conditions.
Thank you, Mr.
I will second the motion.
Okay. We have a motion for approval of item number 6, 1515 Birchmount Road. There are no conditions. It's put forward by Mr. Said, seconded by Mr. Hahn. All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. That application is approved. Madam, your application has been approved. Thank you very much. Okay, we are continuing on with item number 7, 125 Applefield Drive. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on the item of 125 Applefield Drive? I do not have anyone listed for item 7. (125) Applefield Drive. Is the applicant online? Okay. To the applicant, do you wish to make a presentation, or do you simply wish to answer questions?
Through the chair, you need to ask the applicant for their name and address for the public record.
Okay.
Good morning, Madam Chair. This is Sham Sayed, one of the authorized agents from McQuee's Inc., acting on behalf of the property owners at this location.
Okay.
And in reference to your first question, Madam Chair, the variances before the committee are very minor in nature. The first one pertains to just a front yard setback, which is an existing one, with the existing condition of the property, and we just added a second floor. And also the height to the platform, which is also an existing condition. So we're just requesting variances for existing conditions. If any further questions from the committee members, anyone from the public, I'd be glad to answer.
Okay, we have no public that has asked for questions. Any questions from committee members? Yes.
Thank you, Chair. I don't have a question, I just have a comment. This seems to be a very straightforward application with two variances requested, so I'm finding no issues with it personally. Thank you.
I'll second the motion.
We don't have a motion yet. We're getting ahead of ourselves. So, any other comments? Mr. Mohammed?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a short question, and Madam Chair, we can deal it at the vetting stage.
Okay.
Thank you to the applicant for mentioning that this is an existing condition, which was going to be my first question, but you clarify on that. My second question is because your setback, the front yard setback is about a meter exceeding. So how this setback is aligning with the neighbor's property, the next property?
Hold 1 second, let me just cross-verify that. So if you can pull out the survey, which should be in the documents that you have, I believe. So the setback onto the property to the east would maintain, yes, exactly. So if you see the neighbor properties, it would maintain the existing setback that they have. And to the properties on the west side, these are properties facing their rear yards into this lot. So obviously they have a more shorter front yard setback facing the same street. Like we are not impacting more than what the existing condition is, or going encroaching more into the existing front yard that is already prevalent in this neighborhood.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, no further questions? All right, we'll take the matter into committee. Any comments from the committee? Do I have a motion? Mr. Said.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the applicant for these clarifications. Madam Chair, I believe both the variances which are before the committee today are very minor in nature. I put forward motion for approval of item number 7, and this approval is without any conditions.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
I second the motion.
Thank you. So I have a motion from Mr. Said, a seconder from Mr. Reed. All those in favor? That motion is carried. The application is approved. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to item 18. I remind the committee that we're still vetting this item.
Through the chair, just for point of clarification, it's item number 8, 18 East Road.
Thank you. Okay. Item number 8, 18 East Road. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to this item? I don't have anyone listed other than the applicant. Is the applicant online? Thank you, sir. Okay. Sir, do you wish to make a presentation, which time we would hold this item, or are you satisfied?
Through the chair, for point of public record, you need to ask the owner to state their name and address.
Okay. Sir, would you please state your name and address? I believe this is Ahmed Faisal. Are you online? Okay. Would you please?
Through the chair, we're trying to, there are two agents that are registered as speakers. We're going to check with the second speaker. Krishna Shah.
Okay. Is Krishna Shah, are you online? Who is wishing to speak as an applicant? I have listed Mr. Faisal and Ms. Krishna.
He's muted. Yeah. Yes, Madam Chair, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I was muted. That's sorry. I was saying something, but you couldn't hear. Sorry about that.
Okay,
My name is.
Sorry, we're trying this, going back to vetting, and so all we're doing at this time is seeing whether we need to discuss this application in detail. So, Faisal, do you want to proceed? Do you wish to make a presentation, or do you just wish to listen to see if there's any questions of the committee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just like to say a couple of sentences. It's not like presentation. I just wanted to state that the reason we came back for committee, but for variance again, because the last time we got approval of 3 and we missed, it was on the drawing, but we missed, this is our mistake. We apologize for that. We missed one variance, that is lot coverage. And this is the reason we came back for variance. That's all, Madam Chair. Thank you so much. And everything is same.
Thank you.
Since the last drawings and site plan, there is a condition that the site plan needs to be same. It is exactly same as previous.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Committee.
Thank you. So, committee members, Mr. Mohammed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Faisal, just a quick question about that. I understand that there is an urban forestry condition number 3 on that, but looking at the site, I don't see there is any tree, either on the front yard or in the back yard. Maybe it could be the neighboring tree, which may be a factor. Just to, could you let me know that there is no tree, or could you confirm it?
Yes, member said that basically there are no trees. So we provide the survey too.
Thank you, but you understand there is urban forestry condition number 3, and you will be agree to that.
Yes,
Thank
we
you.
acknowledge
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions of the applicant? Okay. Are we ready to take this into committee? Okay. Yes.
Madam Chair, we have only one variance in front of us, and it's a minor variance. Therefore, I move this application be approved with forestry conditions.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
Chair, I'll second that motion.
Okay. Moved by Mr. Hahn, seconded by Mr. Stinson, to approve the application, subject to the forestry conditions. All those in favor? That matter is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Item 9, 54 Fallingbrook Drive has been deferred. We're moving to item 10, 5 Waldock Street. Okay, item 10 is 5 Waldock Street. Is the applicant here?
I'm not sure.
Thank you. I have, I guess someone from your office who has listed. Do you want to speak for both of you?
Yes, I will be, Madam Chair.
Okay. All right, so we have the applicant, Mr. Berzikowski, for 5 Waldock Street. I have no other. I think I'm drowning in paper here. Let me just double check. Item 10, I have no other speakers.
Madam Chair, I believe they're here in opposition.
Okay, so you wish to speak to this matter? Okay, we're supposed to be just going through a very quick check to see what items we have to hold and what items we can deal with immediately. Obviously, if you want to speak, we're going to have to hold this item. So we'll move on to item number 11, which is 124 Denton Avenue. Item number 5, which is the 5 Waldock Street, will be held because we have a speaker in the audience. Okay. Item number 11, it's 124 Denton Street. Again, I only have listed the applicant. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to 124 Denton Street? No? Okay. Okay, I have 124 Denton. No one in the audience who wishes to speak to it, and the only person is the applicant.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Franco Romano, 321 Lakeshore, here on behalf of the owner. Happy to answer any questions. This is a fairly straightforward garden suite with 10 support letters, including the immediate neighbors.
Okay, thank you, sir. Are there any questions of the applicant? Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question is very simple. I just want to have the clarification of variance number 5. Through you, Madam Chair, I will appreciate if the height of the garage, which is confusing, is also ancillary building's height. Which height is it you are considering at the moment in variance number 5?
Yes, thank you for that question. Through you, Madam Chair, that variance number 5 is for the side angular plane. So that is on the west side, and that is next to the neighbor at Denton Avenue that has their own detached garage in the backyard. So that side angular plane is next to an existing garage that's next door.
Sir, when you are converting a garage into a garden house or garden suite, which height would you have to go by the suite's height, not the garage height? What height you are considering?
It is a 6.37 meter height, so it's a 37 centimeter height variance, which is item number 2.
And that is the height of the garage plus garden suite, correct?
That's correct. And on that side elevation, there is a sloped roof and a bit of an angle to that roof.
Okay.
So it is sloped on that.
I'll stop at that point. Are there other questions on this? Should we help
Madam Chair,
down,
if you allow me the supplementary, or thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, again, I would ask the applicant, does the ancillary structure or building falls into the angular plane of the main residence?
No, it does not. No, not for the main residence. No, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Said?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will make it very quick. We are at the wedding stage. Thank you to the applicant. So I understand the height garden suite is 6.37. Just for sake of further clarity, what is the height of the existing garage?
The existing garage is at about 4.5 meters.
Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Any other questions of the applicant? Anything further that you wish to say, sir?
No, I thank the committee for their deliberation and for walking through today's vetting pilot process. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. So, do I have, we're now in committee. Any comments? Do I have a motion? Yes, Mr. Reed.
Thanks, Chair. I'm happy to bring a motion. I think this is a reasonable application, and the fact that it's using an existing garage and just increasing the height by, as the applicant noted, over just a couple meters, I think it is sensitive to its surroundings, and particularly the fact that it's on a corner lot, I think does give it a bit more breathing space, and it fits in with the neighborhood. I think the variances being requested are minor in nature and in impact, so I move approval with urban forestry condition number 2.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Mr. Stintz?
Thank you, Chair. I will second the motion.
Okay. I have a motion for approval from Mr. Freed, a seconder from Mr. Stinson, subject to urban forestry conditions. All those in favor? Okay. That matter is carried. Thank you very much. Your application has been approved. Oh, I'm sorry.
Put
I'm
your
sorry.
mic on.
Okay, I'll have to, let me take the motion again. I have a motion from Mr. Reed, seconded by Mr. Stinson. All those in favor of the motion for approval? There are 4 in approval. Those in opposition? Mr. Hahn is in opposition. The matter is still approved, and it's subject to conditions.
Through the chair, can I suggest we take a 5-minute break?
I think that would be a good idea. Okay. Good morning again. We took a brief break just to get our heads wrapped around this new procedure that we're following and to allow me to get a glass of water. So thank you very much for your patience. We're moving on with the agenda, the next agenda item. And remember, we are vetting, so if we need to discuss this, we will just hold it down. Our next item is item 12, 2660A Midland Avenue. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to item 12, 3660A Midland Avenue? Seeing none. Does the committee wish a presentation on this item? This is item 12, 3660.
Through the chair, since this application is, there is a refusal report from community planning, you may wish to hold down this item.
I think Mr. Reed was ready to put forth a motion to do so.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah, if we could hold this item, please.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So number 12 is being held. We'll move on to number 13, 5 Avalon Boulevard. Okay. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to item 13, 5 Avalon Boulevard? See none. I have the agent and the owners listed, but no other speakers. Committee, do you wish a presentation? Okay, do you wish a presentation? Okay. All right. None of the committee members need a presentation. Is the applicant available?
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair. My name is Dennis Kerfurst. My name is Dennis Kerfurst, and I am the representative for the applicant.
Your name again?
Dennis Kerfurst.
Oh, okay. We have you listed as a Peter Kerfurst.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I actually go by Peter Kerfurst. Sorry. It's, Dennis the Menace thing. My parents, whatever.
Okay. Dennis or Peter, you are available. The committee does not wish a presentation. Is there anything that you wish to say on this matter?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. All right. We have no comments. We will now take this matter into committee. What is the wish of committee? Mr. Said.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As the committee did not want to have any presentation on that, I think we are satisfied, Madam Chair, on the variances before the committee today. I believe these variances are minor in nature and there are no conditions attached to the approval, so I am supportive of that.
Okay.
Chair, I'll second the motion.
Okay, thank you very much.
Through the chair, there needs to be a very clear motion through what I guess if it's approval, refusal, conditions. Can we have a clear motion, please?
Thank you.
Mr.
Thank you. Yes.
Say, would you?
Thank you, Madam
motion
Chair.
then?
Yeah, it was not a motion, it was just a comment so that to give an opportunity to the other members if they have any opinion on that. So, Madam Chair, I put forward motion for approval of item 13 and there will be no conditions for this approval.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'll second the motion.
Okay, I have a motion for approval from Mr. Said, seconded by Mr. Stinson. There are no conditions. All those in favor of the motion for approval? That motion is carried unanimously. Thank you very much, Dennis the Menace. Okay, we will move on to the next item, which is 370 Beech Grove. Yeah, I've got all these papers as to who's here. So item number 14. Okay, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to the item for 370 Beech Grove Drive? Seeing none. I do not have anyone listed for speaking to this item other than the applicant. Does the committee wish a presentation? No? Okay. Can I have the applicant online, please, and would you give your name?
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Shiraz Kevorkian, and I'm the agent of the client.
Thank you, sir. Do you wish to make a presentation?
No, I'm okay. I'm happy to answer any question.
Okay. Do we have any questions of the applicant? Mr. Said.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I understand there is urban forestry condition number 1. I see there are a couple of mature trees at the front of the building. So could the speaker can elaborate on that? How many trees are going to be injured or whether all of them are safe?
Sir,
So there will...
Go ahead.
Sorry, there will be, in the front of the yard, there will be 3 mature trees. We're dealing with the forestry report that we will, whatever we're removing, we're implementing other trees.
Okay, so you're in agreement with the forestry's conditions, are you? And working with them?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll take this matter into committee. Do I have a motion?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll make the motion for 370 Beech Grove. 3 variances in front of us, minor. Move for approval with forestry conditions.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Mr. Reed?
I'll second that.
Okay. I have a motion for approval from Mr. Said, seconded by Mr. Reed, subject to forestry conditions. All those in favor? That was carried unanimously. Your application is approved, sir. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on, we have item number 15, 3379 to 3385 Lawrence Avenue East. Is item 15. I have the applicant and I have one speaker on this item. Because we are just vetting this, we will hold this item down. Is the speaker still online? Yes. Oh, the speaker's in person? Okay. All right, well, we'll hold this matter down and come back to it later. The last item we have before us in the vetting portion of the agenda is item 17, 67 Sandown Avenue. I have the applicant listed. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to item 17, 67 Sandown Avenue? Not seeing anyone, and I have no one in. Does the committee wish a presentation? Yes.
Chair, I think I'd prefer if this were held down. Given
Okay.
that it's a consent, I think we'd merit from a deeper questioning.
Okay. All right. we will hold that matter down. That's the end of the vetting section of the committee. It is, as we've said, a new method. It is supposed to help speed up the applications. I think as we become a little bit more familiar with it, it will in fact be helpful. So I'd like to confirm the items that we have held. I have item 1, 593 Danforth Road. It's held. Item 2 was deferred. Item 3, 33 Budia Crescent was held. Is that correct?
Through the chair, I'll confirm all the items that have been held. Item 1, 593 Danforth Road. Item 3, 33 Budia. Item 6, 15. Item 5, 30 Lakeside Avenue. Item 10, 5 Waldock Street. Item 12, 3660 Midland Avenue.
Yep.
Item 15, 3379 to 3385 Lawrence Avenue East. And item 17, 67 Sandown Avenue.
Okay. Thank you. So we've held 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 7 items that were held for discussion. Okay, we'll start off with the first item, which is 593 Danforth Road. Let me get my papers back together again. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to the item for 593 Danforth Road? Okay. Item number 1 is 593 Danforth Road. The application was previously deferred and has been amended. There was a supplementary matter in the agenda, which was the previous application. Construct a 2-story rear yard addition. Okay. Does the committee wish a presentation? Yes. Thank you. Okay. Is the applicant online? Okay. Good morning, sir. Could you please give your name and address? And the committee has asked for a short presentation. You have 5 minutes.
Through the chair, Faisal, you have been unmuted.
Who's been unmuted?
The applicant.
Oh, the applicant has been unmuted. Okay. Faisal, I understand you are the applicant. You have been unmuted. Are you wishing to make a short presentation, or is Tashin going to do a presentation?
Madam Chair, Tasin will do that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Fossil, would you please give us your name and address and then your short presentation?
Madam Chair, if you kindly unmute Tasim, that would be great. Thank you.
Hello? Hello, Madam Chair.
Okay, are you unmuted?
Good morning,
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm finally unmuted. I'm Tahsin Alam from CM Designers and Engineers, representing the property addressed 593 Danforth Road today.
Can you
This
give me
is
your
a
address
semi-detached
first?
house.
Sorry?
Oh, it's 593 Danforth
No,
Road.
that's the address of the application. Can you give your address?
Also, my address is, I'm from CM Designers and Engineers.
Yeah.
I'm representing the applicant. So my address is 537 Danforth Road.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
this is a semi-detached house, and my client wants to have an addition at the rear side of his portion. As you're aware that we had applied previously in October with 4 variances. Since planning department wanted additional time for discussion, our application was deferred. After that, we have emailed the planning department and we have reduced all 4 variances to our best of ability. The reduction from the previous application as follows. Number 1 is building length. We have reduced to 2.56 meter from 22.17 meter. In building depth, we have reduced to 21.56 meters from 22.17 meters. We had a rear setback variance, which was previously 8.64 meters. Now it's 9.41 meter. The side yard setback, it was 1.2 meters previously. Now it's 1.28 meters. We have not received any observation from the planning department regarding this as of now after changing. Usually we receive their concern prior to hearing. And because of that, because since we have not received anything from the community planning, so we are assuming that they don't have any concerns after we have done the reduction. So, and there is no objection from the neighbors as well. In fact, we have submitted a support letter previously. We also don't have any urban forestry condition for this property. Therefore, through the chair, I would like to request all the members of the committee to declare these variances as minor in nature and approve our application. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I have a comment here that Metrolinx has an advisory statement. It's not a condition.
Yes, and we would like to go with them.
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you very much. Any questions of the applicant?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, my question is that after the amendment of your 4 variances, they are still not complying with the zoning bylaws. Number 1, variance number 1, which is the length of the building. You are still 2156 and the maximum allowed is 17. Same is depth of the building, not complying with the zoning. And 3, 9.41, although after amendment, still not complying with 13.83, the maximum you are allowed. And variance number 4, side setback is 1.28, while you should be having minimum 2.4. How do you justify these are minor?
Through you, Madam Chair, I would like to address the queries. If you just go through the site shape of our property, this is very linear. So, and from the very beginning, the property has a lot of front yard setback. So it was very hard for us to accommodate all the requirements from the client by coming up with while remaining within those criteria. So since the client had a growing family and he needed that space. So we would like to request for that extension. So if you see it, all the three variances that you have pointed out, the building depth, the length, and the rear side setback problem, it is only because of that extension part, and which is actually kind of needed by the property owner. So I would really...
Madam Chair, through you again, I would remind you that it is a semi-detached house. It's not a detached house, it's a semi. So you're going beyond. Did you seek the consent of the other part of your semi?
Yes. So we have a support letter, and the other side of the property owner for our semi-detached, he has not given any concern regarding this. In fact, he has been very supportive.
Has he submitted a letter of support? That would have been helpful for all of us.
Madam Chair, we have already submitted a letter of support which has 12 signs, I believe, from all the neighbors. And I believe the immediate neighbor also has signed, but I can just confirm it.
Okay. Mr. Said?
And Madam Chair, I would like to add over here that the other, if you see the lot number, 601 and 599, the rear setback is even less than what we have, what we are asking for.
Okay. Okay, Mr.
So,
thank you, Madam Chair. I was looking at the previous application, Madam Chair. This is, of course, is a new application for us. Yes, the previous, there were 4 variances. Again, there are 4 variances. The applicant has tried to improve it a little bit to all the 4 variances. And I think the length of the building is the main issue which is causing the rest of the variances. That I need to be confirmed from the applicant because the 17 meter and now they are proposing 21.56 meter in length. So this is about 4 meter, which is creating an issue. Am I correct in that? And second, my question is that what is the building length, existing building length? Thank you.
Okay, to the applicant. We have 2. We have 2 questions. What is the existing building length? And what is the justification, I guess, for the 21 meters building length?
Through the chair, Tassim, can you please stop touching the mute button?
Pardon? Okay.
They're asking me to unmute. Hello? Yeah. Hi.
Yes.
Hi. Hello, madam. Am I unmuted now? Okay. All right. So sorry, madam. I was muted again.
Okay.
So,
do you wish Mr. Said to repeat the questions?
It would be really helpful if you can just repeat again. Yeah.
You had 2 questions.
Thank you so much. My first question, either it was a comment that although you have tried to improve into the previous 4 variances, but they have come again with very little changes. Still, I appreciate that you have made an attempt to improve this situation. Would it have been better if you could further reduce the extent of the variances? So that is my first concern on that overall total picture. My second question is, if I assume that the building length is the main issue creating the rest of the variances, could you please let us know what is the existing building length?
Okay. Through you, Madam Chair, I would like to answer Mr. Said's. One is the comment, the other is the question. So the second question was, what was the existing building length? So the existing building length was 13.03 meters. And so I think he's very correct. So all our three variances actually depending on this particular issue of the building length. So, and if, as I was referring on the other previously, the neighboring property 601, that has a rear setback of 5 meters, and the property 599, that has a rear setback of 9.38. So we actually have more than that as a expected rear setback, proposed rear setback.
Okay.
Thank you very much for that elaboration. And the next property is the corner lot. Is that correct?
Sir, just one second, please. Let me check. Are you talking about? No, it's the next and next. Yeah. So that's a corner lot that I was referring to as well.
Thank you.
Previously.
Any further questions? No? Mr. Said first.
Thanks, Chair. Just a quick question for the applicant. Behind the parcel, in the interior of the block, there's a very large parcel. Can you talk to me about the ownership and what that's used for?
I'm not very sure about that green part that you're referring to. Are you talking about that rear side green chunk, right?
Yeah, that's right. That runs like in the center of the block, east-west.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're not aware.
So this, no, I'm not aware of the ownership of that block, sir.
Okay, thanks.
Are you aware of what is on it? Is there any buildings on that property?
Not to my what's on that entity? It's an empty vast land that we saw.
Okay. All right. Mr. Stinson, you had some questions?
Thank you, Chair. No questions, just a comment. Clearly, the address location is in a commercialized area. Clearly, there is some substantive increases. I'm not confident from my point of view that I find anything disturbing about this in terms of its scope. So I just wanted to make that comment to the rest of the committee members.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any further comments from committee? Are we ready to take this matter then into committee? Okay. Do I have some comments now that we're in committee? Mr. Said.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I still believe that, yes, the applicant have shown, Madam Chair, some improvements into the variances, bringing it close to the bylaws, whatever is provided there. The variances are there, but keeping in view the lot shape, and also it's a semi-detached dwelling, there could be certain restrictions towards the design factor. Keeping in view those factors, pressing factors, I believe, Madam Chair, the variances before the committee are minor. The applicant have tried to improve on that, and this could be the maximum they can do. For that, I am in favor of the application.
Okay. Any other comments? Nope. Do I have a motion? Mr. Said.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I put forward motion for approval of item number 1 as amended, and there is no conditions for that.
Okay. We have a Metrolinx advisory, but it's not a condition. Okay. Do I have a seconder?
Chair, I will second the motion.
Moved by Mr. Said, seconded by Mr. Stinson, that the application for 593 Danforth Avenue be approved. There are no conditions. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay. 4 are in favor. Mr. Hahn is opposed. Thank you very much. We'll move on to the next item that was held. And that item is number 333 Budia Crescent. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to item 333 Budia Crescent? Yes, okay. Would you come forward? Are you the applicant, sir? Okay, just take a seat then. We'll hear from the applicant first. Okay. Is the applicant online?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Would you give me your name and your address, please?
Bert Donaldson, owner and applicant for 33 Budia Crescent.
Okay. Do you wish to make a short presentation, or do you wish to answer questions?
I can give a short presentation and answer any questions as well.
Go ahead.
Thanks for hearing the request for this minor variance to a garage plan. This was first deferred from January, and after consulting with community planning, a more moderate height is now being requested that will still meet the needs of my family and to store a small RV trailer inside. The original plan was approximately 1.1 meters taller than what is currently on the table.
Okay. Any questions of the applicant? Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you. I would like to know what is on the back side of the proposed building and that long strip of building that is shown. What are those buildings?
I believe you're speaking about a plaza that's behind the
Oh, it's a plaza.
neighborhood?
It's a plaza.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Number two, in site sketch, what are the side dimensions of proposed garage from lot lines?
1 meter.
What?
1 meter?
1 meter each side?
This is your side lot line?
Oh, sorry. The north side is 1 meter. The east side is 1 meter. And the west side is facing the street. Yeah, there we go. So right there, that's the front face for Budia Crescent is is west. So if you were asking for I believe you're saying the east side, and that would be backing against the plaza.
So what are the dimensions? 1 meter?
1 meter, yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No? Any other questions from committee? Okay. Sir, may I have your name and address, and then you have 5 minutes to speak.
My name is Pastor Melvin McGann. I'm the pastor of Midland East Apostolic Church. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Thank you. We are adjacent to the property at 1510 Warden Avenue, and I'm here to support the application 100%.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for the speaker? Not seeing any. Thank you very much, sir, for showing up and
Thank you.
sitting here for the time.
It's a new experience. Never been here, even though we have this property for over 25 years, the first time. So I'm sure I will be back.
It's sometimes nice to get neighbors to come and support the application in person. Thank you. Okay. For 33 Budia, Any further questions? Nope. Are we now in committee? Yes, Mr. Singh.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have, through you, a very short question about variance number 1, the garage height. The maximum you are allowed is 4 meters, sir, and you are asking for 5.67. Is that true?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Nope. Okay. So, back into committee? Yes.
Thanks, Chair. I'm happy to bring forward a motion, but I think that there's only the one variance is being requested, and I think that the design of the actual garage with a peaked roof, that goes a long way to mitigate any impacts to the neighbors in terms of shadowing. So I think that this variance being requested is acceptable because of that specific design feature. So I move approval of the application subject to the approval being tied to the south and west elevation plans, that it be constructed substantially in accordance with those, and that would, I think, ensure the mitigation factors of the design.
Okay. Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Move approval subject to site plans, yes?
Thank you, Chair. I'll second that
Through
motion.
the chair, just for clarification, I believe it was to the south and west elevation plans, correct?
That's right.
Thank you. I'll second the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a motion for approval, subject to a condition of approval subject to the site plan for the south and
Subject to
west?
the elevation plans for
Elevation,
the south
south-
and west sides, yeah.
south and west sides. And I see no other conditions. Okay. Do I have a seconder?
Thank you, Chair. I'll second the motion.
Okay. Moved by Mr.
Reed.
Reed. Seconded by Mr. Stinson. All those in favor? Thank you. Okay, your application has been approved. Thank you very much. Okay. The next application I have is item 5, 30 Lakeside Avenue, and I believe there are a number of people in the audience who wish to speak on this. First of all, yeah. Okay. Item number 5 is 30 Lakeside Avenue. We have plans and we have conditions, an arborist report, urban forestry comments, TRCA comments. We have a letter from the councillor, number of letters of support, and a number of letters in opposition. Is the applicant online? Okay. Mr. Bronsel, we have a number of people in the audience who would obviously like to ask some questions. Do you wish to make a presentation?
Through the chair, David, you have been unmuted.
Mr. Bronson, are you able to connect with us? While we're waiting for his connection, those who wish to speak on this item, would you please just raise your hands? Where are you sitting? Okay, 1, 2, 3. The rest of you just want to listen, or you're here for another item? But I've got 3 speakers who want to speak. Thank you. The applicant has the opportunity to speak first, and we're just waiting for him to be connected. Is Mr. Bronson still having difficulty connecting with us?
Through the chair, we are currently trying to get in contact with him to find out what's going on.
Okay. Let's give him 2 minutes, and then if not, we'll move on to the next item and have to come back to this one. Okay, I think maybe what we'll do is we'll give him time to connect with us. And much as I hate it, I think we'll move on rather than just sit here. We have item number 10, which is our next item. And then as soon as we finish item 10, we will come back to this item.
Through the chair, just one last time, can you ask if Mr. Brownskill is on the line?
We're waiting for him. Is Mr. Brownskill on the line?
Through the chair, we are currently trying to get in contact with David. Thank you.
Okay, so we're still trying to get in contact with him. That's why I suggested we move on to the next one, give him a chance to connect. Are you connecting him with, by the old-fashioned way, by telephone?
Through the chair, we've tried to call, no answer, and we are now trying email.
Oh, okay. All right. We will hold that item, go on to item number 10. And then we'll return. Item number 10 is 5 Waldock Street. It's for a new 2-story detached dwelling. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak? Are you the applicant?
I am, Madam Chair.
Okay. So, we have the applicant. Okay, I just have the applicant listed and someone from your office, so I assume just,
There's
You're-
some objectors too, Madam Chair.
yeah. Is he also going to speak?
You'd have to ask them.
Okay.
Oh, nobody else from my office will be speaking. No, just myself, Madam Chair.
Okay. Is there anyone, what you're saying is there are people in the audience on this item?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Those who are wishing to speak on 5 Waldock Street, would you come down to the podium, please, and just sit there? We'll have to go through the applicant and our questions first, and then you'll have an opportunity to speak. Okay. 5 Waldock is an application for a new 2-story detached dwelling. Do the members that wish a presentation? Okay. A short presentation is requested.
I did submit a couple of pages of supporting documents. If we could bring that up, please. Jonathan Miskowski, I'm a planner with Solark in here on behalf of the owner of the property. The proposal before you today is for a 2-story conventional, essentially new dwelling. In my opinion, the variances are minor. We have 2 requests. One is for an FSI and one is for a height. I would note that the height is for the pitch of the roof. We often see main wall height variances. In this case, the main wall height variance, the proposed main wall at the front and the sides is actually below the zoning bylaw. This is essentially a typical pitch mansard type barn type roof, again, with any impacts on adjacent neighbors being minimal, again, with that main wall height being as per the zoning bylaw. I'd also note that the only dwelling that's adjacent to it, as we can see there, is adjacent to the east. This is the first house in from the corner. So to the left of the proposed house is actually the rear yard of the dwelling on the flanking street, which is Waldock. So in terms of the variances, this is a little bit of an interesting situation in that this property is regulated by both coverage as well as FSI. I'm not quite sure why that would ever occur, because really one should lead to the other. So what I've done here is I've given you a couple of graphics. In terms of the FSI, what's driving that FSI up, we are below the maximum permitted building length. We are in excess of the side yard setbacks, being 1.2 meters, which is what's permitted. We are in excess on both sides. In terms of the coverage, we are below the permitted coverage within the zoning bylaw. And I've actually overlaid on the screen here, we can see the red, which would be the permitted coverage. So what we actually see is a permitted coverage on the property would have a greater impact than the proposed FSI. Again, we are below the maximum building length, as well as in excess on both side yards. So it kind of goes to the idea that the zoning bylaw isn't written for every property on an individual basis. In this instance, the actual intent of the dwelling was to limit the length, which again would be permitted under the zoning bylaw with a greater coverage in light of making the dwelling shorter, wider, but again, within the parameters of the zoning bylaw. So in terms of the impact into the adjacent neighbors, the dwelling does not extend too far, too close, or too high in terms of the walls that are being proposed. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the committee might have.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, Mr. Sim?
Madam Chair, I had the opportunity of looking into the plan, survey plan in particular. And my question through you, Madam, is there is a retaining wall shown in the front yard as well as a wood retaining wall in the back. So that was my simple question to ask, what these retaining walls are about.
The retaining walls are just there due to the slope. Through the proposed, if approved and meritorious here, we would be getting a grading plan. And if any type of load or anything would happen due to those retaining walls being adjusted, they would have to be proposed in the new grading plan, in addition to being able to retain all that water on the property itself.
How high is this retaining wall, sir?
Pardon?
How high?
How high is it? Oh, I could give it to you. Just bear with me for 1 second. It's essentially a foot. The elevation at the bottom closest to the street is 127.16. At the top of the retaining wall, it's 127.47. So it's essentially a foot through you, Madam Chair, Mr. Khan.
Respectfully through you, Madam Chair, I'm looking also the survey plan right in front of me. Elevation on both sides is the same, 127 point something, 127 on the other side. So how could it be a retaining wall?
If we'd like to bring up the survey and just zoom in at the front. Yeah, if we just zoom in, we can see the bottom. If we just go maybe to the top of the arc of the curve of that retaining wall. Yeah, if we could just zoom in there at those two numbers there. We can see the 127.16 at the bottom. Sorry, 127.16 and then 127.47. Through you, Madam Chair, what I would say, Mr. Khan, is surveyors write words on papers. It may not technically be a retaining wall. They have identified it as a retaining wall. But in terms of the height of the difference between the bottom and the top, as well as the bed of that retaining wall, we can also see it's only at 127.36. So again, we're looking at a 1 foot difference from the bottom of that retaining wall to the top, as well as to the bed, which is in the middle of it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Said.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm talking about variance number 2, and that is the height of the building, which is not that much. And but looking at the street character, I believe this is going to be the first 2-story. Most of the dwellings here are bungalows, and they're not. So I wonder what are the triggering factors for this height, and especially at that point when you are demolishing the existing, and what are the design or architectural restraints which you cannot meet the required standard?
Two things. One is just due to the slope. If we could go to the side elevation, we could take a look at the impact of what we would see from the streetscape itself. In terms of what we would see from the streetscape, it is a heavily sloped roof from the front. Yes, so what we would see from the front is that roof really going away from us as we were to stand on Waldock towards the center. Excuse me. So as we stood from the streetscape itself, with that slope there, we would actually see less of the pitch of the roof and more of the kind of the front body of that roof. Through you, Madam Chair, as you did mention, Mr. Said, it is a kind of modest 0.45 meter increase to the zoning bylaw. But again, that is really just for the feature of the roof itself.
Thank you. I understand. Is the yes, the slope is there. My only concern was that I don't want to set a precedent for the other people to follow tomorrow if they come up and say the height of this building is that. But yes, you are right. I agree with that because of this feature. And it's only a minor part of that. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? I see that Metrolinx wants an environmental easement, and there are forestry conditions. Are you okay with both of those? Okay.
I'm okay with forestry, Madam Chair.
Okay. And the Metrolinx?
I'm not a fan of the Metrolinx easements, but I'm in your hands, Madam Chair.
We'll let you talk to them.
Yes. It's a very one-sided conversation.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else for this gentleman? Okay. Do you want to just take a seat? Madam, would you come forward, please? Give us your name and address first.
Okay, so my name is Dorota Dabrowska. I am living at 7 Waldock Street, just east of the proposed new building built.
Okay. Sorry, can you give us your name again? I didn't hear it.
Dorota Dabrowska.
Okay.
Dorota Dabrowska, 7 Waldock Street.
7 Waldock.
Mm-hmm.
So you're
on the east side of the
east of this.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, it's not easy for me to probably to kind of opposed to the plan because I am a neighbor of Mr. Fernando for 20 years. However, I believe that the impact of that new proposed build is going to really impact our house and our way of living. And right now, what's the house that they are proposing to build is way bigger than what existing house is. So it's going to be almost 3,150 square feet. And the existing one is 1,200 square feet. So it's almost, maybe not 3 times, but almost 3 times bigger than what they are proposing. And I believe that it is going to affect the green space. It's going to overshadow our house on the side where actually is our side entrance to the house, and we also have a sitting area over there as well. So that's where we actually entertain. So we will be having definitely less sun, perhaps maybe more of the heat coming from the walls of from the wall of that building, proposed building. Also less privacy because there is going to be more windows right now and through on the side and on the top as well. And another thing that is that they also, from what I understand, Mr. Fernando is planning to put air conditioning on the same side, and which probably will be just next to the fence, because if you are offsetting 1.2, then you have to put some in between the fence and the house. You have to put AC, which is going to be bigger. Is going to create noise and heat as well. Also, the water spouts, probably it's going to, I don't know how the water spouts are going to be, how is the drainage is going to be. Are they going to go to the side of the house, or are they going to go to the back of the house? So those are my concerns, in addition to my husband's concerns as well. He sent he wrote you a letter.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Any questions?
And of course the height as well. There's so much. Yeah.
Yes. Mr. Inston.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for your comments, Miss. I have a question for you.
Yes.
What street are you on?
7 Waldock Street.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
So you're immediately
I'm
next door to this property.
Yes, I'm basically probably I'm the only one who is really going to be affected. The letters that Mr. Fernando provided to you from 3 neighbors, 2 on Galloway, 105 Galloway and 102 Galloway, and 2 Waldock Street, are not in any way affected by the build.
Okay.
I'm sure, yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other questions of this speaker? No? Okay. Mr. Kusi?
We could just bring up the site plan. I believe one of the comments was about green space. We are complying with all the compliance for landscaping. In terms of the impact, where the building sits is permitted by the zoning bylaw. We're in excess of the side yard setbacks as it faces that adjacent neighbor. We're below the building length requirement of the zoning bylaw. So in terms of where that FSI is massed, that FSI could be zoning bylaw compliant and in the exact same position, which would have no change of any impact. So in terms of the consider kind of that acceptable impact of where we are, the building is sited in an exact location as is permitted under the zoning bylaw. And as from my kind of graphic I presented, the coverage is actually below what the zoning bylaw would permit, which would actually have additional coverage of extending it into the rear yard of that adjacent neighbor.
That's it?
That's it, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions of the applicant? No. All right. Thank you, sir. Committee, we're now in committee. Do we have any comments?
Chair, I'd like to make a comment. I appreciate everybody's input. Change starts somewhere, and there's also some space at this property, and there's also adjoining properties that don't seem to be an issue, but we have heard from the one neighbor with respect to her concerns, of course, and her husband's. This is always what our committee is tasked with, looking at all these facts and the people behind us in the various departments. I find that at this point, I would like to hear from some of the members if possible, just for that reason. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Mr. Smith? Yes.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, David. I think my comments on this are, I think you raising change starts is somewhere, and this is it. I think this plan is a good one. It's been designed sensitively. The fact that there are no side yard or front yard or rear yard setbacks, I think that shows that there's been some attention to the existing permissions. We're just really talking about the height, which is less than half a meter over, and I think that because that's limited to the roof line and it's sloped down, I think the impacts of that height is mitigated to an extent. And then the other one is just FSI, which for me is more of a number rather than a kind of real thing. So yeah, I support this application.
Okay, thank you. I too have no major questions with this. We are seeing that it is a change. It will be a change on the street. But even in terms of height, the mansard roof is not excessive, in my opinion. So, yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, I'm making a motion that we have two variances in front of us, and these are minor in nature. So I will make a motion that this application be approved with forestry condition as well as metro links.
Okay. Do I have a seconder?
I'm happy to second.
Thank you. I have a motion from Mr. Hahn, a second from Mr. Reed for approval of this application subject to forestry conditions and metro links. All those in favor? That matter is approved unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam, for showing up.
Through
Okay.
the chair, item 5, David is available now.
Good. I was hoping we could go back to him. All right, so we'll go back to item number 5, which is 30 Lakeshore Avenue. And we now have the applicant online.
Through the chair, just for a point of clarification, it's Lakeside Avenue.
Okay. Did I say
Good
that?
afternoon, Madam Chair. Are you able to hear me now?
We are able to hear you now. Let
Thank
me
you.
just go through a few things here. So we have a number of people in the audience who wish to speak on 30 Lakeside Avenue. Would you just raise your hands again so I can count? I think we had 3 of you. Okay. Do you want to come down to the podium, and you have an opportunity just to sit there while we go through this? Okay, Mr. Bronson.
Through the chair, there are also some speakers who are registered virtually.
Yes. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Actually, I only have 2 speakers virtual. Okay. All right, Mr. Bronson, now that we've got you online, would you please make a short presentation?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I apologize for the technical difficulties. Madam Chair, I'm going to break my comments down into 3 parts for you. The first is just to confirm the circulation comments that you should have before you. There should be a memo from the Toronto Region Conservation Authority confirming no objection to the application. There's also a report, Madam Chair, from Ravines with no conditions and no objection to the application. There's a report from Urban Forestry with standard conditions of approval, which we accept. And there's no planning memorandum, and so therefore no objection and no conditions from city planning. Although, Madam Chair, I am going to be recommending to you that in the event the committee allows the variances, that the committee impose its standard condition relating to any construction proceeding substantially in accordance with the site plan and elevations on file. And that will form Madam Chair, part of the submissions that I'm going to make to you a little bit later. Secondary, Madam Chair, and if staff are able just to put up the rendering for you, I wanted just to outline a little bit of the proposal before you, before I get to my third point, which is speaking to the actual variances themselves. Thank you to staff. It's in that presentation, and it's the last page. And I'm going to work backwards, Madam Chair, just to show the committee the overall 3D rendering. That's it. Thank you. So you can see the staggered nature of the proposal before you. There is a variance for a third story, but Madam Chair, as we'll see on the plans in a moment, it is set back from all edges of the second floor, and it's really a partial third story. And Madam Chair, what that works through as I go through the third portion of my submissions to you in terms of the variances, if staff could go back to the front elevation, and I wanted just to speak to a few of the variances to outline them for you before taking any questions you might have. That's the front elevation, Madam Chair. There's a few aspects of the height variance that I wanted to point out for you. The height variance includes 0.56 meters for the skylight. That's technically counted. So that's that skylight portion there on top. So it's 0.56 to the top of the skylight, which means the variance to the top of the roof is actually 10.4. That's in part, Madam Chair, why I would suggest to you again that the variance be tied to plans so that the height for the skylight does not get deployed as height to the top of the roof. So it's 1.4 meters to the top of the roof above what's permitted by the bylaws. You can see there in red. But you can also see that there's massing, Madam Chair, there in red that's as of right that is in fact not deployed as part of the proposal that's in front of you. And that's why I wanted to take you to the rendering so you can see how it is stepped back. So there is some additional height, but there's also some portions of the as of right height that are not deployed. If staff could go backwards in the presentation again, I just wanted to show you the FSI and coverage numbers. We did review them for the committee. There's a range of coverage approvals. There's also a range of FSI approvals in the area. As this committee knows, we look at these numbers not as authority for why we should have the number we have, but just to get an idea of what is being approved in the neighborhood in terms of a range of densities and a range of coverages. And you can see that there are similar FSIs, 0.71, 0.72, some lower, some higher, but the number itself is within the range of approvals in the neighborhood. I wanted, Madam Chair, my last minute just to talk a little bit about the length and depth. And Madam Chair, this is because the length itself and the depth include portions of the excavated basement. And in the plans, Madam Chair, that are before you, just as examples, the first floor is shown as 20.51 meters. The length variance at 21.12 includes a portion of the excavated below basement. That's why you get to 21.12. But at grade, the first floor is only 20.51 meters, but that includes both the projecting window at the front of 1.52 meters and the projecting breakfast nook at the back at 1.98. When those two projections are taken out, Madam Chair, the main structure itself is only 17 meters. And that frankly then cascades and decreases, Madam Chair, as you go up. The second floor is also 17 meters. The third floor is 15.35 meters, but that again includes a projecting window of 0.55. So the third floor itself is only 14.8 meters in terms of length or depth. So the structure itself, Madam Chair, as it cascades up, is actually in keeping with the length contemplated in the bylaw for the building of around 17 meters. Last thing I'll say, Madam Chair, because I know my time's up and there are other speakers, the colored site plan you may find useful in your deliberations. It shows in red the outline as of right, and it shows in dark red or pink or coral, I'm not quite sure how to describe that color, the areas where the structure at a site plan level projects beyond that as of right. Madam Chair, I know I'm over my time. I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant? Mr. Said, start off with you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you to the applicant for the elaboration. Actually, it was a little bit quick, so I cannot catch properly when you were talking about third floor. It looked like you were giving a rationale for that it is not in entirety and it's not at the third floor. But while giving the numbers, talking about length and depth, I see the first floor and the second floor is 17 meter, and again the third floor is 14.5 or 15 meter. That proof that this is a third floor and it's a complete 3-story building. Could you just further clarify on the third floor, please?
Yes, thank you. So it is a third story, absolutely. I apologize if I gave you the impression that I was trying to suggest it's a partial third story. It is a third story. What I'd wanted to highlight through you, Madam Chair, is that it is stepped back from all edges of the second floor below it. And so it cascades up the structure. And what I mean by that is its length, including that projecting window that you can see there on the front at the third floor, is 15.35 meters, but that projection is 0.55. So the actual length of the third floor is 14.8. But then it has sizable setbacks at the front, at the rear, and on the south side. A smaller step back on the north side, but it's still stepped back on the north side, so that the actual roof structure, as opposed to having a typical sloped roof, as we showed you on the elevation, that might extend out to all sides of the roof, while there is a third story here, the step backs are intended to have that massing less visible, not perceived from the street. And that's why, sir, I wanted to start you with the rendering, because the elevations don't show you those step backs, that texture to the building, that cascading effect.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Said.
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you. Sir, we have 11 variances in front of us. And I have question about 7 of them, but I will stick to one in particular. And that is variance number 11. Ancillary building rear yard setback is 0.61 meter. You are required most minimum 2 meters. How do you justify?
Thank you, sir. So on the site plan, if staff in that package are able to just pull up that site plan again, you can see where the small accessory structures are located. The setback to the rear lot line, based on the lot depth being greater than 45 meters, sir, is a rear yard setback that is then half the height of the building. And so that's why the 2-meter setback is put into place. So it's intended, I think, to have some type of relationship between the height of the structure and where it's located in proximity to the rear yard, to ensure that you don't have, I think, inappropriate massing or overlook conditions. The 0.61 enables that cabana, sir, to be frankly placed in the location that it is. It's adjacent to another shed next door. We think it doesn't have any impacts on anybody. And the plans, sir, themselves as filed include the elevations that don't have windows, so there's no privacy impacts. At the end, sir, we don't believe that it's got any massing impacts. And sir, what's interesting is the property to the south, as you can see it there, at number 14, that's the actual house structure built at the rear. And so it's quite an eclectic area where you've got ancillary structures in the rear, but you've also got this house to the south that has been set back in that existing location. So it's an interesting eclectic pattern in the rear yard. We think this is in keeping with that. And so those structures you can also see, if you need it, as part of your deliberations on the location map, where you can see different structures being located at the rear of lots as well.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate your explanation. And my other question is, as I said, there are 7 variances, but I will be very brief, asking 1 or 2 questions. Second one, sir, is related to variance number 3. That's the height of the building. Sir, do you know,
Yes.
I have to bring to your kind attention that you have a lot of opposition as well as a lot of in favor. And also the councillor is not in favor of this particular application. Would you kindly explain variance number 3 height? if I take your 10.96 meter, but even if I take not 9 meter as instead I take 10 meters, but still you are 0.9 meters higher, and that conflicts with the third story construction. So that is my dilemma to figure out. How could I agree with third story?
Yes, sir. And so part of the rationale or justification that I'd wanted to highlight for the committee is, first of all, that 10.96, and I'm repeating myself, I know is to the top of the skylight, top of roof is 10.4. Right around the corner, sir, on literally, sir, on Kingsbury Crescent, 1 Kingsbury, the variance granted there was for 10.62. Right there where staff are showing it. There are some other height variances in the area, sir. I would concede to you there aren't as many as we see in terms of FSI. They are, sir, I again concede to you in the range of 9.3, 9.6, 9.69, 0.94. But at 10.4, sir, it's for, again, that staggered or cascading partial third floor. And that's why we also included that front elevation, sir, to show you where we believe, in fact, there are areas that are not being filled in under the as of right permission that mean that ultimately access to Skyview will be maintained, and the step back from the front and from the sides mean that the perception of the height is mitigated by having those step backs, so the third store is partially obscured as you're on Lakeside Avenue itself.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay. Any questions from this side? Yes, Mr. Stinson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation also. It's been fascinating. With respect to the cascading upward, this is to mitigate shadowing and impact? Is that what you're saying?
It is, sir. I would add to that, through you, Madam Chair, I would add to that list. It mitigates shadowing. I think it improves opportunities for Skyview. It mitigates massing. Because I think there's a difference between a third story where you don't have the step backs and it truly is a box that rises up. And so in those instances, I would acknowledge you've got a front wall that looks, feels, and reads entirely like a third story. You'd have side walls that look, feel entirely like 3 stories. Here, that massing is broken down, and those step backs mean that third floor, I'd submit to the committee, gets tucked away. And so that massing feel, that massing impact is mitigated. So it's shadowing, it's massing, it's Skyview. All of those in the design are intended to mitigate the perception of that massing where it is. And it's why, if the committee does see fit to grant the variances, I do recommend the condition that construction include being tied to those plans, so that we can't change how the massing is proposed and deployed in a way that would create those negative impacts that I'm suggesting are mitigated, if that makes sense, sir, in the answer to your question.
Entirely, and I thank you. I can see the effort that's been made there. I have one more question, and it's just about, you alluded to it on the plans, the salmon color imprint of what is allowed, and I just want to confirm that's what the practice would allow without your variance.
Correct on the site plan. It's there to, I think, highlight 2 things for the committee. One, at the front, I didn't get a chance to talk about the front yard setback. There is a variance for that front yard setback. It's just to that projecting window. Otherwise, that red line shows you how the structure itself meets the front yard setback. There's another small little projecting piece over the porch. And at the rear, there is a little bit of building length. And then there is a bit larger breakfast nook, but it's that coral salmon or deep red color where that additional massing at the back is just beyond the as of right site plan envelope.
So in saying that, the greater numbers come from the height, not really the length and width.
I think that's fair, sir. I think that's a fair characterization. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, I have a question. And this, I guess, is more a clarification. You have suggested that if this application is approved, that it should be tied to the site plan. And I'm looking for I guess, staff to help me find the site plan on the drawing here. Ah.
And,
Yeah,
and Madam Chair,
that's the
sorry
site
to
plan.
interrupt.
That's
And
the,
sorry to interrupt, Madam Chair. It should be site plan and elevations. I think it's important, the elevations too, because that does pick up the different massings. Apologies for interrupting. I just wanted to be clear. It's the site plan and the elevation. Should you choose to authorize the variances, I think it should be all of them in the condition.
thank you. You answered my question because I was going to ask about the building elevations, and I think we have a front elevation and a rear elevation. So if this application is approved as submitted, it should be subject to approval of the site plan, the front elevation, and the rear elevation. Yes?
There are, Madam Chair, in the drawing package, there are also south elevations and north elevations. I would have no problem with those being included as well for completeness. They also might be important because, again, as you can see on that south elevation, you can see how the second floor is back from some of the projections. The third floor is back from the main walls of the second floor below it. So I think I think it should be those elevations as well.
Okay. Okay. All right. I have no further questions of the applicant. Can we have the speakers? We'll use the speakers in the room first of all, and then we'll move to speakers on the phone. Sir, would you come to the, oh, sorry, you're hidden behind that chair there. Okay. Yeah. Would you give us your name and your address, please?
Paul Passalent, 45 Kildonan Drive.
Say the name again?
The street? Or
no, your name.
Passalent, Paul Passalent.
And the address?
45 Kildonan Drive.
Okay. Passalent?
That's the 45 Kildonan Drive is directly behind the subject property.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
You have 5 minutes to go ahead.
Appreciate that. So I'll just cut to the chase. Of the 11 variances requested, there's sort of 3 key issues we've discussed with the neighbors, some of which are with me today. Some already had to leave because of the delay. But in general, the views were shared amongst the neighbors on Kildonan Drive and as well Dalt Avenue that are rear-facing to the subject property at 30 Lakeside. So we will see the backside of the house. I'm the youngest in the block, only been at the house for 10 years. Others have been decades more than me. And we're accepting of development and change. We get it. Like you guys said, things will evolve and change. We just want to respect the character of the Birchcliff community in both built form and ecological function, which we feel is really important at this site. Firstly, the project height. It's a full 3 stories. It's 10.94 technicalities noted, but that sets precedent for the next application. This is already exceeding any other building in the property. 1 Kingsbury is a recent build. The other 3 stories referenced in the application package are sloped ceiling or sloped roof houses, and this is a flat roof house. This pushes the windows well above 9 meters up to the inside ceiling elevation, creating much more light and privacy issues. So light emissions from 3 stories. There's no house like this in Birchcliff. The flat roof also contributes to the maximum wall height. So the wall height is along the entire perimeter of the building, setback and tiering of the elevations considered. This is still a very tall structure that will be visible and impact views from the backyard neighbors, which many of us are exist. Not just street view perspective, this is a rear view issue as well. Secondly is the building envelope. Recognizing the basement footprint is requesting a significantly larger variance. That doesn't translate into above ground structure, but it does translate into removing trees. Very mature, very healthy oak tree in the backyard that is when people say what's Birch Cliff about, they know trees and they know the bluffs. And that tree is part of the bluffs, and it's very mature, providing shade, ecological habitat, socioeconomic value that's not represented in anything in this application. There's no replacement trees. It's just, here's the fee, there you go. Lastly, is the already discussed the cabana setback. We see that as it's an ancillary building. It's not a tool shed. It's got plumbing. It's got electricity. The variances are requested for 0.6 meters. I'm the directly backyard neighbor to that, and I see that as impacting potential fence maintenance, issues surrounding future use of that cabana and what it could lead to. Interestingly, the comment was that it's in keeping of character with the quirkiness of the neighborhood. Nothing else in this application keeps in character of the neighborhood except for, encroaching on that setback. We're happy to discuss and provide impact, or input on the project. Happy to welcome neighbors, but we'd like it to respect the look and feel of Birch Cliff a little more closely, and particularly the height of the structure with a flat roof 3-story building. There's no precedent for that. There's no 3-story building above the 9 meters, with the exception of one Kingsbury south of Kingston Road. And thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Second, sir. Any questions of the speaker? Yes, Mr. Stinson.
Thank you for your presentation. That was very well done. Just a question about distance. From your residence to the your backyard fence, do you know the approximate or the exact distance?
Sorry, from
your building?
My building?
Yes, sir.
To my backyard fence?
Correct.
It's around 100 feet.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. They're deep lots. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much. The next person. Good morning. Can I have your
Yep.
it may be afternoon by now.
Okay.
Hi,
My name.
your name and address.
Okay. My name is David Turner, and we live at 2 Dalt Road, and we've lived there since 1984. 40 years ago, this month, I stood here in the same council chamber applying for a minor variance. We were adding a room on to our existing 2-story dwelling. It really was a minor variation. We requested a minor variance of 2 feet by 5 feet, so our new room would extend straight back from the existing east wall. We needed a total of 10 square feet, so we would have a family room in the width of the existing structure. We were not granted that variance for the 10 square feet. The Committee of Adjustment agreed with our neighbor as it was a minor variance. From 1984 until now, we have received countless, as it shows up on the thing there, adjustment notices for our immediate neighborhood. And from what I can see, the results of the bylaws and the variances that have been issued have worked very well. Birch Cliff is more than a great place to live. However, when we received the notice for 30 Lakeside titled Public Hearing Notice for a Minor Variance / Permission, my first thought was, has the meaning of the word minor changed in the last 40 years? And read the purpose of the application was to demolish 2-story dwelling and construct a new 3-story building, detached dwelling. From the 11 zoning variances, Chapter 4 reads, the maximum permitted number of stories is 2, and the proposed number of stories is 3. The role of the Committee of Adjustment, according to the letter, is to provide flexibility and may recommend changes to the proposal. May I suggest you recommend these proposals? 1, keep the new dwelling to 2 stories, because 3 stories are not allowed as per Chapter 4. The second one, which is, I suppose, been addressed already with all the people approving in different government levels that we're okay with this basement, have the two-story basement delayed until there is a government-regulated inspection of the soil for the proposed two-story basement. As most Birchcliff residents know, our property is mostly sand and tree roots. It's delicate and it's fragile. So 3, let the trees grow. Birchcliff, south of Kingston Road, is a gem. We as a community needed to, and we have treated the bluffs with respect. I am proud to say the Turner family have spent a lifetime here, and we would like to leave Birchcliff the way we moved into this gem. This is why I'm standing here today. So in the coming years, Birchcliff families can still enjoy the best place in the city to call home. Committee of Adjustments, I ask you, 2 stories only, check the soil and let the trees grow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions? There's no questions. Thank you, sir.
You don't want to ask how the 10 square feet worked out?
Pardon?
I say you don't want to ask how the 10 square feet worked out?
No, I see.
We were going to put a...
Did you get approval, or did you decide to do something else?
We would have put a bathroom in there, and when you're 70, it's really important. I want you to know that. Thank you.
Are you coming back to see us for the 10 square feet next year?
No, you win.
Thank you.
My name's Gary Lennox. I live at 36 Lakeside Avenue, which is right next door on the north to 30 Lakeside. I wish to object to the variance of 3 stories and request that the building comply with the bylaw stating the maximum permitted number of stories is 2. I'd also wish to object to the request for a height variance and request that the height comply with the maximum permitted building height. Look, I could cite, and truthfully, that my deep concerns about the loss of light and the loss of view and the claustrophobic effect of living beside such an overshadowing edifice. But I think it's also true that a successful street in a successful neighborhood, which Lakeside Avenue is, depends on compromise and balance. And I don't characterize these variances as minor. I characterize them as a one-sided compromise. My quality of life and everybody around is being diminished simply so someone else's can be improved. And I see this as being exclusionary and unfair. Thank you.
Okay. One moment, please. Any questions? Yes.
Thank you for your presentation. Very well done. With respect to light, you touched on that. What's the influence of the light that you see being diminished? Because I've seen some of this area and there's a huge tree canopy. So can you just elaborate from your point of view on that, please?
The building that exists there now that's proposed to be demolished is about 1.5 stories. That's what I'd call it anyway. And the top is, angled and gabled and stuff like that. This one is going to basically blot out everything that I can look at from the south side of my building. It's going to loom a lot over my property. And it's going to cut off a lot of light. It's going to cut off a lot of view. And I'm going to feel like I'm living in the bottom of a mine shaft. Pardon me, but that's how it seems. I hope that answers your question.
It does, thank you.
Any other questions? I have one.
Please.
What size of house, are you a bungalow or a story and a half?
I'm a 2-story house.
Pardon?
2-story house.
You're a 2-story house.
Mm-hmm.
And your lot is 150 feet deep?
It's the same as the 30 Lakeside lot, yeah.
Okay, so you're a 2-story house, and you have a garage on the south side?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, I'm just trying to
Sure.
picture what's there. Okay, thank you very much. Any
You're welcome.
questions? Mr. Said.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just wondering, was there any piece of communication or consultation between the owner and the neighbors, and have they discussed this development with you, all of you, or since you are living there for many years? So, They consulted you on that?
I don't really characterize it as a discussion. I think they presented what they wanted to do and left it at that until today. There was no discussion, no. A fait accompli.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you.
We have people online. Is Patricia and William online? Okay. Patricia or William, go ahead, please. Give us your name and address, and then your comments. We're looking.
It's Patricia Garn. We are at 17 Lakeside Avenue. We are across the street from 30 Lakeside. And our concerns are mostly environmental, of the trees, the canopy, the fly path, the migration of the birds, going down 2 stories, sub basements into roots and into like the bluffs, the sand is a great concern of ours. The vibration of this construction, the noise is just not conclusive to what it belongs in the neighborhood. The 3 stories and taking variances of taking over the property or a building, it just doesn't seem that these are minor variances. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Any comments? Yes.
Through you, Madam Chair, I have a question for this lady. Have you any idea that there are another 3-story building in this area?
There is a 3-story building on 1 Kingsbury, but their yard is backing over the bluffs and they have a very deep lot. And their roof is peaked. It is not a flat roof.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Our second speaker is Michael Marnerino. Is he online? Okay.
Oh, hello. My name is Michael Marmorio. I live at 51 Kildonan Drive. And I organized this protest against this building. The owners have owned it for over a year and at no time made any attempt to meet with any of the neighbors. And then only when I organized a meeting at my own home with the neighbors, they phoned me and said they wanted to come and chat with us, in which the architect simply presented his vision as a fait accompli and told us to our faces that they will get everything they want at the Committee of Adjustment because they have a lawyer from Goodman's. So that's the kind of cooperation we've had from these people. They want to come in here, bulldoze the neighborhood with a 3-story edifice of 5,500 square feet when only 3,000 square feet is permitted, and do whatever they want, destroying my privacy, and all the people on Kildonan will lose their privacy because we've talked about that 3rd story from looking at it from the street, but how about looking out from that 3rd story into my backyard and everyone else's backyard when we've lost all the trees at the back of that lot? So this is not a minor variance of any way, shape, or form. It's a request for a monster home, greatly exceeding the permitted square footage. It's a request for a 3-story home when only 2 were permitted, and it's an overbearing edifice that does not fit within the neighborhood whatsoever. I would ask the committee to make this client go back to the drawing board and come back with something that's reasonable, that fits in with the neighborhood, so that we can all enjoy our neighborhood forevermore. Thank you very much, Madam Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, Speaker? No? All right.
You don't want to hear me?
Sorry, is that Mr. Marnolo?
Yeah, I'm done. Yes, thank you.
Oh, okay. I'm just asking if there's any other questions for you from the panel members. Yes, Mr. Stinson has one.
Thank you for your presentation. Do you know approximately the distance to the bluff from this build site?
I do not know, sir.
And that's fine. I just thought I'd ask. And again, thank you for your presentation.
Yeah.
No.
All right, thank you.
No, no, sir. You probably know the answer, but you've had your chance. Okay, anyone else online? All right. The applicant? We have no other speakers. Sir, you have 5 minutes for a rebuttal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the consultation, Madam Chair, other than to say that was a completely unfair characterization that you just heard. As the committee knows, it's sometimes difficult to be able to consult. There was a mailing with a package sent to all of the adjacent landowners. When my client became aware of an informal meeting being scheduled, they called and asked if they could come and present. They brought their architect, and a presentation was made at that informal community meeting. I think that's a good thing. And I know Mr. Wengel, and I don't think that's a fair characterization to suggest that I was going to come here and bully this committee into getting everything that my client wanted. I just don't think that's a fair characterization of my client and his family wanting to come to an informal event being organized in the community to present. I don't think that's fair. Ultimately, I don't think that's relevant to the committee's consideration, but I did feel the need to step in to defend my client and Mr. Wengel in terms of that statement that was made to you. In terms of third stories in the area, Madam Chair, I would point out that we did include in our presentation material pictures of three-story approvals in the area as well as their location. I would simply note that the one that you've heard a lot about, 1 Kingsbury, yes, it does have a sloped roof, but it also obtained a height variance, which up to 10.62 meters. So while it is a sloped roof, it's in fact with that sloped roof, I'm going to suggest to the committee taller than what we're suggesting through our proposal. Again, Madam Chair, in terms of the suggestion that there's loss of light, I would go back to the third floor plan, the step backs on all sides, including to the north and including to the west, to pull back the massing in relation to the neighbor to the north, to pull back the massing in terms of its relationship to the deep lots that are on Kildone. I don't think there's privacy impacts in terms of those rear yards, as might have been suggested at 51, which is in fact 2, if not 3 lots to the north of my client's property. I don't see a privacy impact on those rear yards, and I don't see the loss of light that was suggested to you. And finally, just the last thing, Madam Chair, unless there are other questions, I'll say in terms of trees, I think there's a bit of hyperbole in terms of the loss of trees being suggested to you. I would just go back to the urban forestry memo. As you know, when they are concerned about loss of trees, they will recommend refusal. You have a ravine memo in front of you as well, which is a separate department for the city that looks at those issues, including trees. They are not objecting or asking for a deferral. There will be compensation for any trees that do have to be removed as part of the permitting process. And I would just highlight those memos for you as the rational response that you do have in terms of any proposed tree removals. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Okay, committee. Are we ready to take this into committee for discussion? Who wants to start? Mr. Singh.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have the opportunity of listening to very skillful representation for the applicant. And
Speak up, please. Can we hear him? Thank you.
Yeah.
okay, can you hear now? Thank you, sir. I appreciate the representation on both sides, for and against, and also representation for the applicant. It was very skillful and very learning that some of the clarification he made. But nonetheless, I have your concern in consideration as well. And one thing that I have to make a comment about, community consultation is important, although it has been brought to the conversation that it is not important or not consideration of the committee, but it is a consideration which gives committee a chance to understand that this difficulty or this project was discussed with their neighbors and they were in agreement with the proposal of all the variances. But nonetheless, it is important for the committee to know the ideas and the concerns of the neighborhood. But nonetheless, for me, after listening to both sides and having a counselor in opposition, and as I mentioned before, there are concerns about variances that I have mentioned to you. On the basis of that, I find that variance 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 8, and 11, and they are not complying the official plan as well as the zoning bylaws. They are causing density, adverse neighborhood impact, and changing the stable neighborhood character. Therefore, I move this application be refused.
Okay, I'm not going to take that as a motion yet until we've had everyone else, but we'll come back to you, okay?
Thank you, madam.
Mr. Mohammed, did you have a comment?
Through the chair, can I just ask all the members to speak directly into the microphones? Closer to the microphones. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I echo what my colleague have mentioned. The points which were raised from both the sides, they were good in terms as far as their technicality is concerned. Yes, the city is changing, the new developments are coming, everything has been changed, and we welcome the new developments there. But at the same time, we have to see that the character of the street or what the neighborhood, what the neighbors are seeing, as well as what the bylaws is permitting. In this application, we have a couple of variances, Madam Chair, before the committee, although there was certain points raised by the speaker like noise, vibration, and similar other points which are not before the committee or the outside of purview of the committee. But even if I look at the variances before us, Madam Chair, no matter if I try to be very flexible and give some margin, but still, I believe that the 3-story building is not permitted by laws, and it's a complete 3-story building. And similar to that, the height of the building with a flat roof, and then going back to the setback of the building, which is very close to the fence, to the other neighbors and all that. So I feel that these variances are not minor. The applicant could have built a very good design and very good 2-story building with the changes there. The building itself is very good, the design is good, but perhaps the applicant is not looking what the permission is there in the bylaws. So there is a need, as one of the speaker was saying, if the applicant go back to the drawing board and see how to mitigate the either the bylaws exceeding from the bylaws or the points which are raised by the neighbors.
Okay, thank you. Any? Yes.
Thanks, Chair. And thanks to the agent and the neighbors for their presentations and comments. I think that a lot of good information was shared. And thanks to my colleagues on the panel. I have a different view of this. I actually support this application. My main concerns were about the height, the number of stories, and the length and the depth. And I think that the agent did a good job explaining that the way that the house has been designed in terms of stepping back, particularly on the 3rd floor from all sides, and the fact that there were the bump out at the front and back just solely on the 1st floor. And then those bump outs were also stepped in from the side lot line. I think that went to limit the impact of those length and depths that are being requested. I think that in reality it would feel a lot less than 21 and 19.5. So with that in mind, the kind of the impact of these variances related to the stories and the length and depth, I think that this is a supportable application. I would like to add that the one speaker raised the second, the kind of sub-basement, and that is, I think, a policy kind of gap that's existing in the city, and I know they're trying to address that soon, but that is something that I look forward to, some sort of kind of policy direction from the city, because there are unanswered questions, even if they're not related to the variances being requested.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Stinson.
Thank you, Chair. Well, Mr. Bronskill's presentation was quite detailed, as it always is, and I appreciate that a lot. I think we see people that have come from the neighborhood to present what their concerns are, and I appreciate that a lot. I see the letters in this file from some of the neighbors on Lakeside supporting this development. It is quite an issue. I listened to the other members of this committee, and I'm greatly influenced by hearing their perspectives, because I see this development as something that could work here. I also see that because of the variances in height and the design may be a bigger sticking point that is realized. And I think at the end of the day, I am not in favor of this at this time, and hope that it can be maybe looked at again with a little bit more attention to what the neighborhood is today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I too am going to speak on this item. It's, as has been said, the applicant has given us a good presentation. It's an interesting building. I'm looking at the location, particularly as it relates to the bluffs. And I'm also concerned about the fact that they are proposing two basements, a basement and a sub-basement. This is a sandy area of the municipality. We have had the bluffs fail. Hopefully this house is maybe 5 houses up from the edge of the bluffs. But I think what is presented to us is a very large house. The FSI is 734 versus 0.4, so it's not quite double the size of permitted, and that FSI doesn't include the two basements. So it's a huge house. I like the fact that he is stepping it back. I think there is some further modifications that can be made, and I'm not going to support this application. I would encourage the applicant to take a look at it, maybe refine it, maybe do some soil testing. I know we're worried about trees, but I think in this particular one, I'm also worried about the foundations for the two sub-basements. And it's not a variance that we have in front of us, but it's a fact of what he is proposing to build. So, saying that, I have no further comments. I'm ready to take a motion. Mr. Mohammed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You have a very valid comments, Madam Chair. Yes, after all, I can still say that this is an overdevelopment in FSI. It's a height variance is not minor. 3-story building is not minor, and then there are other variances too. In light of all these variances, Madam Chair, I believe the variances before the committee today are not minor in nature, neither they are appropriate. I therefore, Madam Chair, I will put forward a motion for refusal of this application.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
I second the motion.
Okay. I have a motion to refuse this application from Mr. Mohammed, seconded by Mr. Said. All those in favor? I will vote in favor of refusal. All those in support? Yes, you're in support of the application, correct?
Opposed to the...
Oppose.
Opposed...
Oh, I'm sorry, you're
Opposed to the motion, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me just clarify that. Have I got 5 refusals? I've got 4 refusals, and you support the application?
I support the application, but I don't support the motion for refusal.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Mr. Stinson, I've got to just, are you refusing the application, or? Yes. Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. So we have 4 refusals of this variance application. 1 support, Mr.
Through the chair, for point of clarification, you referred to the motion that's on the floor, which is refusal. So the way it would be is that four people were in support of the motion. Member Reed opposed the motion.
Okay. Okay, that is clear. Clear for everyone else? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you to the residents, and thank you to the applicant. So let me see where we are. That was number 5. Number 10 has been done. So I believe
Number 12 now.
that we're on number 12.
Yeah.
Okay.
Through the chair, the people in the audience are speaking or are here for item 15. Those are the only members in the audience right now, the 3 members.
Okay. So we'll move on to item number 12. So we have people in the audience are not here for number 12. We have no one listed for number 12 other than the applicant. Is the applicant online? Thank you. Item number 12 is for 3660A Midland Avenue. It is a reduction in the parking. Could I please have the applicant? Mr. Saduki?
Through the chair, Arshad, you have been unmuted.
Hello, sir. Can you give your name and address? Do we still have him online?
Through the chair, Arshad, you have been unmuted.
Good afternoon, sir. Can you identify yourself, please? Are we trying to contact him?
Through the chair, we are trying to contact him right now.
All right.
Through the chair, while we're trying to contact the applicant, can I suggest that you move to the next item, and we can come back to this?
Okay. Okay, next item is number 15. It is 3379, 3385 Lawrence Avenue East. And I believe we have people in the audience who wish to speak to this matter. If you would come down to the podium. As you can see, I have a proliferation of papers here. Okay. All right, so we have speaker in the audience. For number 15. Okay. Carly Forrester is the applicant for number 15. Is she online or is she in the audience?
Sorry, Madam Chair. Carly Forrester is representing the applicant, as am I, Andrew Hannaford of MHBC Planning. So I think I would be doing the presentation unless there was a question of
Okay, and your name is?
Andrew Hannaford.
Okay, so you're Andrew Hannaford.
Yes.
Okay.
Through the chair, Andrew, can you speak directly into the mic?
Yes, sorry about that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I have a Mark Richardson. That's you? Okay. So, Mr. Andrew, Andrew, you are going to speak on behalf of the applicant?
Yes.
And is Carly going to speak, or is only if we have some questions?
Only if there are questions. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is an application on, on 3379 to 3385 Lawrence Avenue East. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So my name is Andrew Hannaford. I'm an associate with MHBC Planning here on behalf of our client, Kindred Works, and I'm joined by Carly, as was mentioned. The application before you today is seeking a total of 5 minor variances to permit a revised development proposal on the subject lands. A zoning bylaw amendment for the site was approved by council in November of 2023 to permit the proposed development. Since that approval, in discussions with city staff, it was determined that additional rental dwelling units could be provided on the subject lands through increases to the height of the building towards the rear of the site. The revised proposal increases the height from 32 to 36.46 meters, increases the total unit count from 123 to 155 units, and increases the GFA of the building accordingly. Of those 155 units, all will be rental, and 30% are proposed at below market rents in coordination with CMHC. The creation of additional rental housing units aligns with staff direction and city policies for growth and intensification to support housing. We have read staff's comments and note that they are supportive and are in agreement with the staff report. I can go through the remainder of the presentation if the committee would like, or I'm happy to just answer questions as well.
Okay. What's the wish of this? Do you want a full presentation, or if you want to ask questions? Questions?
Thank you, Chair. I do not want a presentation. I do have one question.
Go ahead.
Thank you. This is for low-income housing?
It's a mix of market and below market rate housing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Through you, Madam Chair, brief explanation I would appreciate. Site plan control is not approved yet. So do you know what stage it is at?
Yeah, so through the chair, the process to date has been we have gone through to get a zoning bylaw amendment approved by council. Following a zoning bylaw amendment, you would then go in for site plan approval with the city. In consultation with staff recommended that we get the variance approved before proceeding with our site plan control application to make sure that we knew the parameters of the zoning we were dealing with before so that they can process the site plan more quickly.
You know, the reason I asked this question is all five variation in front of us are not, they have been approved by the council as well as other resources. But are you sure it will be approved at some point?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand the question. I can clarify. We had a zoning bylaw amendment approved by council in November. In discussions with staff following that, there was an opportunity to provide more rental housing on this site, and these variances are to permit that additional rental housing that we couldn't realize through the zoning that was approved in November.
Okay.
Thank you.
Maybe I'll just clarify. Your zoning bylaw that was approved in November.
Yes.
It is final and binding now?
It is,
It's
that's correct.
finished?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. And you have an application in for site plan approval, but staff are saying, get the variances before they comment on that.
The site plan approval application has not yet been filed pending the decision of this minor variance. It will be filed as soon as we're through the minor variance for this.
Okay, so the variances that we have in front of us have not been discussed with planning staff?
No, they have.
The gross floor area and building heights, those are things that
Sorry.
they would look at in terms of the site plan.
Through the chair, they were discussed with staff through the zoning bylaw amendment process. That was finalized, and through discussions, and actually at the suggestion of staff, we are here today seeking these variances because it's through discussions with staff that the need for these to accommodate more housing was identified. So we have worked with staff, and we will go through the site plan control process as well to continue to work with staff. It's just a continuation of the process we're already in.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Sid, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you again. Sir, although it has been accepted by the city official plan, but at the same time, government's all level initiatives to provide much needed affordable housing. But my concern is all these five variances do not comply with the zoning bylaws. So how should I compromise? I mean, realizing the necessity of affordable housing, and the initiative has been approved by the superior higher ups. So how should I compromise now?
So through the chair, the purpose of a minor variance application is to seek relief where you do not comply with the zoning for a site. That's why we're here today. We did have a zoning bylaw approved for the site specific. So the zoning bylaw amendment varies the city's parent zoning bylaw permissions. That was approved by council. Through discussions with staff, we've identified five specific areas for which additional relief is required with the goal of creating additional housing on the site, and this is what's required to achieve that. So we're following the correct process under the Planning Act, which is then you seek a minor variance to vary the zoning, and that's the process that we're seeking today. We do believe they are all minor in nature and meet the intent of the official plan and zoning, which are the tests under the Planning Act for this committee, and staff are in agreement, and that's why you see that recommendation in their report.
Okay, I'm going to comment. It's unusual to have a zoning bylaw approved in November, and then presumably in January, in order to get this application in front of us, you made these major changes to it. It's I'm a little, no, I'm not concerned about the changes per se, so much as why was this not done through the zoning bylaw?
I can speak to that. Thank you, Madam Chair. So at the time that the City of Toronto has been undergoing a bit of a change in the view of housing and the need for affordable housing in the community, I think this is in direct response to that. Staff actually reached out and identified the opportunity that they would like to see more rental housing provided on this site. At that point in time, we were already so far through the zoning bylaw amendment process that it would be costly because financing and other things are tied to your approvals process. It would be much more difficult to go back and hold up our zoning approval versus just coming to the committee to seek these additional changes, which, as you see in the report, staff are supportive of and would have had we have held up the zoning process for a few months, but it's more expeditious to do it in this matter, and given the need for housing in the city, we felt it was best to use this approach.
Okay, that's my question. Any other questions? Yes, Mr. Stinson.
Congratulations on your presentation, because that answered my question, and I think it meets the four-test rule with a heavy emphasis on housing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mohammed?
Thank you, Madam Chair. While I appreciate the project or the initiative itself, of course, it's going to contribute towards the affordable housing. But at the same time, I really would have appreciated if there would have been some further information in the application for sake of clarity and for further convincing all the parties or stakeholders. But anyway, the initiative is good. I am totally in favor of that. Okay, so the purpose of the application is that you are building one more story, right? Adding to the 11th floor. And there is an additional units. The number of the additional units are, let me
It's 32.
32 additional units, right? So are these 32 additional units are only on the 11th floor, or you are making some interior changes for rest of the building?
Thank you for the question. And through the chair, I don't know if we have the elevations on to show, but the previous proposal had a quite stepped look to it. So it was tallest on Lawrence, and it would step down through a number of steps, a dramatic number of steps towards the rear property line. So we have added one additional story to the highest section of the previous proposal, as well as added additional height to the balance of the proposal as it transitions down. It still transitions, but it doesn't have quite as many step backs and steps anymore, which does two things. It gives you a lot more gross floor area to provide additional rental units on the site. It also makes it quicker to construct, which reduces the impact on surrounding properties. And it makes it more efficient to construct, which helps us with our goal of reducing the cost of providing these units onto the rental market.
Thank you. And since there are no variances before the committee about the amenity space or other kind of, affordable housing is very good, but at the same time, the quality of life is also there. And I don't know whether you have done a study on the amenity spaces, or would you be able just to give us some extra additional information on that, ensuring that the quality of life will also be maintained? Have you done the shadow study or parking study on this development?
Yes, through the chair. So a shadow study was submitted. There's no additional shadowing through the additional height that we're proposing, just the way the site falls with how the sun casts shadows on it. And we also did provide a parking study as part of the zoning bylaw amendment application, which staff are still supportive of and shows no major impacts. In regard to amenity, we do comply with the city's minimum amenity requirements. We're not seeking a variance, nor did we seek a zoning bylaw amendment for that in November. So an appropriate amount of amenity will be provided for building residents.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I do understand there are no variances to that, but I wanted to hear it and confirm it from you. And thank you very much for that.
Okay, that has raised another question for me. I think it's partially been answered. You're increasing the height. Not the overall height. The overall height is still there, but you had stepped it down to the south
Yes.
property line. The south property line is a property line with two-story residences down there. Have you had any community meetings with those people?
Through the chair, we did have. There was community meetings through the zoning bylaw amendment process. There have not been, to my knowledge, any meetings specific to these variances. With that said, it's effectively no taller as it relates to the rear property line. This change isn't effectively making it any taller. There were portions previously at this height. It's just now the entire rear section is at this height. And we have maintained a quite significant setback from the rear property line of over 17 meters. So it effectively does not cast shadow, and there's a large line of trees that's being retained along the rear property line as well.
Okay, I read very carefully that the additional height does not cast any shadows on the north side of Lawrence. But I wasn't sure about the south side of Lawrence, and that's where I was looking at those residential two-story dwelling units. So no impact on them? It's the same as what it...
That's correct, based on my understanding of the shadow study, yes.
Okay, and you didn't answer my question as to whether there was a community meeting?
Not specific to this variance application, no. There
No,
were,
I'm talking about the overall application. Presumably there's,
there have been, yes. There was one voluntary as well as the city's required meetings, in addition to others with tenants of the existing building on the site. So there have been, yes.
all right. I have no further questions. Any further questions? No? Okay. Your next speaker? Your name and address, please.
My name is Mark Richardson. I'm at 79 Highcroft Road. I'm here representing an organization called Housing Now TO. We're an organization that tracks affordable housing development here in the city of Toronto. We're here today to speak in support of this minor variance. I'd also like to draw attention to the fact that there's absolutely nobody here speaking against this minor variance. Our HousingNowTO.com civic tech and affordable housing volunteers from across Toronto have actively watched the city planning processes on this property at 3385 Lawrence Ave over the last 2 years. Our volunteers strongly support the proponents' requested minor variances on this site to allow for a modest increase in the building size for a total of 155 units as proposed. This is an increase from 123 units in the earlier rezoning. Scarborough is in a housing crisis. I want to say that very loud. I want to say that very clear. Scarborough is in a housing crisis. Our city needs to allow not-for-profit partners to maximize every opportunity they can uncover to create new build, purpose-built rental, and affordable housing rental apartments on these kinds of faith-based lands. This is an excellent proposal that, in our volunteers' opinion, answers all 4 tests that you must use in your committee of adjustment with a strong affirmative yes. The revised submission from Kindred Works and the United Church of Canada maintains the general intent and purpose of the official plan and the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. The requested changes are minor in nature, as they only add 32 additional units to this site in a city that is in a housing crisis. It is clear from the fact that the Toronto City Council has approved your provincial housing targets of 285,000 new homes in Toronto by 2031, including a sub-target of 65,000 affordable rental homes, that our city leaders, our mayor, and our city council are all very well aware that Toronto's official plan and Toronto's zoning bylaws in every part of this city will need to be relaxed in order to accommodate their own housing targets. Therefore, adding 32 new purpose-built rental apartments on this site is both appropriate and desirable when considered in that citywide, provincial, and national housing context. There was a question during the earlier item that was before you about has minor variance changed over the last 40 years? The answer is not nearly enough, and it needs to start changing now. There seems to be a generational split on this panel. I would encourage those who are, maybe were here 40 years ago at Committee of Adjustment, to understand the council has changed, the world has changed, the problems are worse, and we need to move these projects through as rapidly as we possibly can. As always, our open data and civic tech volunteers are happy to answer any questions your committee or staff may have on affordable housing development projects, best practices, and how to make the most effective use of faith-based lands to help alleviate Toronto's rental housing crisis. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, I appreciate the passionate and forceful presentation. It is needed, I agree with you. But at the same time, sir, you have to consider that the variants in front of us do not comply the zoning bylaws for which the laws are made, and it is not. Have you considered that?
I believe that all of those zoning laws and bylaws are going to be actively relaxed by our city council. It is your duty at this time to take the intent and the spirit of the recent council item to create 65,000 new rental housing units in Toronto by 2031 and apply that as an overlay to the bylaws that are currently on the books.
I appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? No? Okay. So, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Comments? I assume that was in support, so that you don't have a, no, I'm back to the applicant. You would normally have an opportunity to rebut, but presumably both of you are in agreement.
Yeah, we appreciate the support, and thank you for your time, committee.
Okay. All right. Yes, Mr. Stinson.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to make a comment. Housing, main transportation artery, Lawrence Avenue East. I feel it meets the 4 test rule, and I just want to point that out to my fellow members.
Okay. All right, are we now in committee? We're in committee. I got nods. Any further comments? No? Do I have a motion?
Thanks, Chair. I have a few comments. I think that this is an elegant proposal. I think that's obviously garnered a lot of support from the main proponents of affordable housing, and it's great to see the faith community stepping up for this issue. And for the actual variances that are before the panel today, I think they are minor, as my colleague just noted. They look big on first glance, I think, but the fact that it's staying within this envelope that was approved very recently, there's small projections out, but I think that those are all for good reasons in terms of speeding up, lessening the cost of construction, creating more affordable units. And this is a great site for it, I think, as my colleague noted. It's not creating shadow on sensitive open space, and it's creating actually a very positive interior space in the block. So I think it's a great application, and I'll be supporting it as well.
Okay. Do you wish to put?
Sure. If my colleagues don't have anything else to add, I'm happy to make a motion for approval with no conditions.
Okay, seconder.
Chair, I'll second that motion.
Motion for approval from Mr. Reid, seconded by Mr. Stinson. All those in favor? Okay, that application is approved unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work. Okay, we go back to item number.
Through the chair, item number 12.
Yep.
Arshad is now available.
Is he online?
Correct.
Okay. So we're back to item 12. We have item 12 and item 17, and that's all. Okay. All right, item number 12 is 3660A Midland Avenue. The applicant is online. Would you please identify yourself, sir?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, committee members. This is Arshad, architect from C Architecture, authorized agent for the owners at 3660 Midland Avenue.
Yes, sir.
So the proposed daycare at 3660 Midland Avenue is an interior fit-out project. It is required to have an outdoor play area as per law, which is proposed to acquire adjacent parking strip, utilizing 9 existing parking spaces. As per Scarborough Employment District Zoning Bylaw 24982, Performance Standard 2029, the required parking spaces for the property is 176 spaces. There are currently 196 parking spaces on this property, and with the removal of 9 parking spaces, we are still at 187, including 3 accessible parking spaces. So as an individual property, it meets the performance standard 2029, but the performance standard applies to a collection of 5 properties. So other 4 properties are 321 Silver Star Boulevard, 301 Silver Star Boulevard, 2155 Mechanical Avenue, and 2195 Mechanical Avenue. In total, the 5 properties, as per performance standards, are required to have 997 parking spaces, and the provided spaces are 634 in total. This number exceeds the previously approved count of 613 as per minor variance hearing dated August 18, 2022 for the property at 321 Silver Star Boulevard. This is due to the discrepancy we noticed in the parking counts provided for the property at 3660 Midland Avenue, which is our project. It was noted as 163 parking, whereas we have 196 parking spaces currently on site. So that basically is a net addition of parking spaces for the 5 properties or cities record from 613 to 634. But since the required is 997, still we need that minor variance approved to proceed forward. During the same minor variance hearing of August 2022, the property at 321 Silver Star Boulevard got approved for a parking deficiency of 99 parking spaces. We tried reaching out to transportation services to provide clarifications about the facts and figures and previous approved minor variance at 321 Silver Star, but we understand that it must be a very busy at their end and we couldn't connect with them. As per urban forestry memorandum, there is no condition applicable for our property. With regards to the letter from Trans Northern Pipelines, we clarified to them via email that there is no excavation and underground activity during construction. With regards to the letter from the owner at 2195 Mechanical Avenue, we would like to inform that there is a net addition of parking count on record from 613 to 634 as per zoning notice we received for our application. If the committee members still feel that we should get back to the staff, we will request a deferral be granted and we can work with the staff to get the report in our favor.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, you've given us a bunch of numbers. They may satisfy the variance. Unfortunately, those numbers are not in the report, and Transportation Services has not got those numbers. They're recommending refusal. I do believe that this needs some additional information and some comments from Transportation Services to assure us all that these numbers are realistic and are supportable. Are you suggesting that you are willing to defer this application to have further conversations with Transportation Services?
Yes, Madam Chair. If committee wants, I can re-explain the numbers for clarity. Otherwise, we can go for deferral and work with the staff again.
Okay. So the applicant has suggested he can wow us again with all those numbers, or more appropriately, he can talk to Transportation Services, provide the numbers, and we'll get a further report from them at a later date.
Through the chair, just to clarify, though, it would be deferral sine die at the request of the applicant to address concerns identified by Transportation Services. When this is ready to come back, reschedule, there will be new notice. Yep. As well.
Okay. All right. Sir, did you understand that this application would be deferred sine die? Give you an opportunity to talk to Transportation Services. Hopefully, they will be able to write a positive report, and the application will return back to committee. Is it?
I understand that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, what is the wish of committee?
Chair, I would like to make a motion I would like to make a motion that we defer this matter sine die, allowing the applicant to return to traffic transportation services for further advice and information as to proceed.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Mr. Said?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I second the motion.
Okay. I have recommendation for deferral agreed to by the applicant. All those in support of the deferral? That is approved. Okay. I believe we have one last application. Item number 1767 Sandown Avenue. We have no one in the audience. Is Mr. Jurassic online? Good. Okay.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. This is an application for a consent to create 2 new lots and for a number of variances to support that development. Mr. Jurassic, do you wish to make a short presentation? First of all, I should ask whether the community or the committee wants a presentation. No, I think the committee is now tired. We don't want a presentation.
Chair, if I may, we may have some questions, but maybe not a presentation.
Okay, good. All right. So, Mr. Jurassic, if you want to make a really short presentation, just identify what the consents and variances are, and then we'll open it up to questions.
To simplify everything, it's a very standard project, as you've seen many from mine, where we take a property and divide it up into 2 lots. Within this community, there's been several on Atlee, Healy, Sandown, Natal, Aylesworth. It's an area that is very dynamic, and a lot of these applications have been before you in the past. So I'm open to questions. I think I'll keep it simple like that.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, we'll start off.
Thank you, madam. Excuse me. We have variances in front of us, and my main concern is variance number 2, 3, and 5. And I would like to know that you have amended variance number 5 to 36%. Is it so?
Correct. Sorry, I was under the assumption it was as amended. We did provide the municipality with the committee with the revised variances. We've spoken with my client. We did a quick redesign, some redesign that allowed us to remove many of the variances in terms of 3-story depth and deck issues. So the only ones that are really required are the ones pertaining to the actual lot frontage and lot area. And with the reduction of the house, the houses to comply with the other variances to eliminate them, the lot coverage did go from 40.22 to 36%. And we've lowered the house, so the main wall height also dropped down to 8.1 on part 1, and the other one also had a drop in height.
Through you, Madam Chair, I want to express my concern and little explanation for variance number 2 and number 3.
Can you just say what variance 2 and 3 are? What are those?
Variance number 1, variance number 2 is 7.39 meters as against the 9 meter requirement, and the 3 is 2.81. That's the area.
Okay.
And the requirement is 325 meters square.
Okay. Okay, so it's the variances for frontage and lot area that you're...
That's right.
Okay, thank you. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Jurassic.
Yes, the lot itself is over 14 meters, so it's a very large lot where this area requires 9-meter lots. So we are requesting severance of these lots to permit the 7.39 meters to create the 2 single detached lots on it. So the 7.39 meters, yes, it is a variance required for the 9, but currently the lot itself is larger in nature compared to many of the other lots in the area, and for the severance is permitted. With that, the lot itself would be over 500 meters squared as single, and by dividing into 2 lots, they do bring it down to 281.56. This has been many of these such applications in the neighborhood have been before the committee. And this does fall in line in terms of what we're seeing in the community as being changing community, increasing housing availability, making more affordable housing instead of one large lot being a 14-foot lot in the neighborhood. We're creating these lots which create more of affordable housing, being around 2,000 square foot houses, which creates a little bit of a better product and a more affordable product for the city of Toronto to provide housing for residents in the area.
Thank you. But I would appreciate to know that you have deleted some of the variances. Would you be kind enough to confirm that the variance number 1 has been deleted by you and number 5 has been amended to 36, which you explained, and also variance number 6 has been amended to 8.1, and 8, 9 has been, and 7, 8, 9 has been deleted. Would you be good enough to let me know?
Yes, the floor space index, which is variance number 1, the issue that we had a floor space index, which was on part one property, it was variance number 1, and on part 2, it was variance number 2. The way they were calculating the height of the building, they included the basement in that. So by us reducing the height and pushing the building more into the ground, it eliminated the 3-story variance, and it removed the basement as part of the calculation for FSI, which reduced the floor space index. We also shortened the house to comply with building length, which further reduced the floor space index. And with all these changes, the floor space index became in compliance with the bylaw. So, and by reducing the footprint as well, we took 4 square feet out of the coverage to reduce the house to make floor space index comply, which brought it from 40.23 down to 36% coverage from the required 33%.
So 7, 8, 9 has been deleted.
Correct. So by pushing the house more into the ground, the house became 2 stories by definition again. So it's no longer a 3-story. And by being a 2-story house, the basement, which the city at first included that in FSI, is now a basement not included FSI. And 7, 8, 9, we shortened the house to eliminate 8, which is building depth, and we adjusted the balcony for the rear deck to make it comply with 4 square meters.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other questions from members? Okay. All right, thank you very much. We're now in committee. Do I have any comments? Yes.
Thanks, Chair. I'll make some comments. I think that the applicant has made some very good fundamental changes to the proposal and gotten rid of pretty significant variances that would have caused me some concern with this. So I think what we're left with is a very reasonable application that's intensifying a neighborhood that can take it, I think, and it's in a respectful way, and the variances being requested are minor. I'm happy to move a motion unless any of my colleagues have anything to add. No. Okay. I'll move approval of the application for consent and for the minor variances.
As amended?
Sorry, yes, as amended. As amended.
Okay.
And for the consent, subject to urban forestry and engineering conditions, And for the minor variances, subject to the community planning report.
Okay.
Through the chair, I don't believe there's a community planning conditions relating to the minor variance application.
Okay, I thought there were for the.
That was
in
for
the
that was for item
supplementary.
16, I believe.
Oh, pardon me.
Sorry.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Nothing for this one.
Okay.
But the way you've worded your condition, except for the community planning, is
Except
fine.
for the community plan, yeah, I'll remove the community planning condition from the.
Okay.
From
Before
the.
we proceed with that, you had asked for clarification? Or you're satisfied now? Okay, so I have a motion for approval of the consents and the consent and two variances as amended. Do I have a seconder?
Chair, I'll second that motion.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stinson. So move approval by Mr. Reed, seconded by Mr. Stinson for the consent and the two variances altogether, all as amended. Subject to forestry and the engineering services. Okay. All those in favor? Thank you. That matter has been approved, sir. Thank you very much. So that concludes our agenda in the number of applications. The only other item we have is just a notice that there was a TLAB appeal for 2 Emmett Crescent. It was refused by committee and appealed by the owner. The date of our next meeting is April 3rd, 2024. And I believe we're not going to have Mr. Sade there, but we certainly added a number of items to that agenda. So thank you very much to all the committee members.
If I might, Chair, just, this is Mr. Saeed's last meeting, and I'd like to thank him on behalf of other districts of the Committee of Adjustment for his excellent service.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to you and to all of the committee members for all your support and guidance throughout my 5 years over here. And of course, I'm going to miss it. Thank you. And also to the staff member, to the deputy secretary, and to all of other staff members as well. Thank you so much.
You want to do a motion to adjourn?
I'm happy to put forward a motion to adjourn.
And I'll second the motion.
Good night.